Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews podcast number 71.
71!
We're going to be catching up on the latest films and TV shows we've watched before going over the latest film news. In the second part, Andy and I will be counting down our top picks of 2024, which can include video games, TV shows, movies, books, anything media related. And then in the third part, as always, we'll be answering your questions. Andy, how are you?
What's up, man? I'm good. How are you?
I'm not too bad, actually. The year's been treating me kindly so far.
We're ticking in we're a good 2 weeks into it, and,
we're not exhausted yet. I'm not waving the white surrender flag just yet.
Yeah. Just a quick update for everyone. Ian's called in sick today, so you're stuck with us two today, unfortunately. So just in case you wondered where he was. Yeah, it's been a good start.
Did you have a good Christmas?
You had a good New Year? Christmas, man. Yeah, good Christmas and New Year. It was, kind of chill. The girls loved all their presents. Great, sort of food and presents all around. Way too much of it, as you do.
Yeah.
Me and Donna took a little trip up to, because it's Donna's birthday right after Christmas, like January 3rd, which is like. We took a little trip, went to Cardiff.
Oh, nice.
Apart from the weather, it was really nice. Had a weekend there, and then that was my drawer line under it for like drinking. So for the last 2 straight weeks, I've been back to the gym, alcohol free. I hate to admit, I feel better already. Whatever.
You've been cleansed.
I fucking hate it. I've never felt so healthy. Whatever. No, it is nice. And then tomorrow I've got my tryout for Plymouth Vanguard for the local American football team.
Oh wow, yes, you mentioned it.
Another reason I'm not drinking. So yeah, tomorrow. We were going to do it last week.
You're drinking after.
Yeah, maybe. So down for that. That's going to be really good. So yeah, just pretty much chilling out. We've been doing a bit of stuff to the house and everything. We're working on the bedroom at the minute, which is going to be nice. We're getting that all painted. Actually, that's quite funny. We've having to sort a few things out. We just bought a new car for Donna, which we pick up next week.
Right.
Because we've got to get rid of the car that we're at the minute, and then I need to get a car for myself. So we bought a new car for Donna, got her Mini Cooper. That's picking up next week. And then we're sort of sat there, and it's like we're talking about what to do with the bedroom and working out and budgeting and stuff like that. I'm sat in the bed, got this massive, great big bed, nice and high up, and right in front of the bed is this enormous empty wall. And I'm just like, do you know what? Because we'll sit upstairs with a big tablet and watch. I'm like, I'm putting a fucking TV on that.
I was gonna say, is it one where you might actually get a projector and put it on the wall?
You know what? It is that big. It is that big.
Yeah.
But I decided against that, and I was like, I said, look, I'm gonna put a TV on the wall. I'll bring, one of the PlayStations upstairs. Downstairs, I've got the Xbox, the PS4, the PS5. I'm like, I do not need all this down on one TV.
Right.
So I thought I'll bring one of the PlayStations upstairs or whatever. So she went, yeah, if you're sure. I said, screw it. I'm just going to, so we were looking at paintings and stuff. So I thought, I'll order a TV. So I ordered a TV. And I told her, I was like, TV's coming next Tuesday. I said, I'll get a bracket. I'll put it up on the wall. And she's like, oh, okay. What? How big is it? And I went, okay. And I walked off.
How big is it? Okay.
Because I ordered a 75-inch TV.
Oh,
I was like,
as big as they get.
What the fuck? It's a big fucking wall. Screw it.
Yeah, it'll look small if you get a small one. Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be so that'll be fun. And I just can't wait to see her face. What the fuck did you do? So I'm there God of War, huh?
16 times the detail.
Yeah,
what are you going to break it in with?
I don't know. I don't know, movie-wise. Might have to get some in new, get something 4K maybe, but I'm probably going to fucking God of War straight onto it.
Nice, very good, very good.
But so I mean, other than the top 10, I've managed to catch a couple of new movies from this year.
Nice.
We watched The Getaway the other day, which is a horror comedy written by Nick Frost. Starring Nick Frost.
I've seen the poster, but I know nothing else about it.
All right, that's great. And I'll keep it spoiler free because it's fairly new, and also there is the movie goes in directions that you might not be expecting. Which
right,
is really
right.
So this is I watched this with my wife and my kid, so it's kind of like a fun. It's very Shaun of the Dead in its gore factor and stuff.
Sure.
There's plenty of violence and gore in it.
But is it cartoonish, comedic?
It's fairly comedic.
Okay,
but they do it in that way of it's comedic, even though they're being serious.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Great little. It's think I don't know. A midsummer style sort of Swedish island that they go to for a holiday for a festival. lots of creepy characters on the island. Chaos ensues.
Nice.
If you've seen the trailer, and it looks like a fun time. It really is a fun time, and it's like I love when I can watch. We'll talk about stuff in here where
Sure.
I love when I can watch a horror movie with a kid.
Yes, because I know you've been
Yeah,
showing her more and more
that's
horror
fun.
lately.
And,
So
you know, like my wife likes comedy horror. She
Yes.
doesn't like anything too brutal.
yeah, too
you know.
traumatizing.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah. That's why I was literally I caught myself recommending like The Substance to someone who doesn't particularly like horror, and I'm like, well, it's not horror, but then I was like, actually, you know what? No, it can be pretty traumatizing. There's some pretty grotesque
it's
imagery
difficult when you're so fucking desensitized.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So I was like, actually, no, I don't recommend it.
I don't know. It's like I think I let them look. They watched the video for that Ice Nine Kills song from Terrifier.
Sure, I've finally seen that
like,
now.
How brutal is it? And I'm like, it's all right. And then he's helping that woman give birth, and you're like, I don't think he kills the baby.
I don't think so.
Did you know? It's like, oh fuck, I think I fucked up.
There's a lot of people dying in that video.
The kid's a sociopath, so it's fine. I went to see Wolfman last night.
Okay, now I've not liked a couple of the last iterations of Wolfman. I think the Benicio del Toro one was the last one I saw in the cinema, and I didn't really like that very much. So
this is.
Is it the classic Wolfman tale?
No.
So, okay.
Here's the thing. It is a Universal movie called Wolfman, but this is the way I equate it to. It's not the Wolfman, okay? It's first it's Lee Winnell. So Lee Winnell is the other guy that's not James Bond.
That's the Saw. Yes, yeah. And he also did Upgrade and The Invisible Man, which was really good. Yes.
So he's done some great, and his camera work. Someone else, because I made the mistake of watching a couple of reviews on it, like spoiler-free reviews, and it actually put me on the back foot going to watch it, because people have been. This is a very on-the-fence movie, but someone said Lee Winnell has got a filming and camera style so good and so different that in a couple of movies you might be able to just watch a film without being told it's him and pick it out that it's him.
Okay.
And there really are some amazing shots and bits of camera work in this, and some amazing sound work in this movie.
It's interesting how Lee Winnell's name has not been the one that gets plastered everywhere.
Yeah,
it's always
so
James Wan.
Well, you know, he did one of the Insidious movies.
That's right.
He did Insidious 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm back now. This is going to be. I think this is going to be a really polarizing movie, and I'm kind of like, whichever side of the fence you sit on, I'm kind of like, yeah, I get it, because.
Okay.
So first of all, it's not the traditional sort of like Wolfman story as such, like with. When he did The Invisible Man, and he used that as a film to sort of explore like abuse, toxic relationships and stuff. He kind of tries to use like generational trauma as like the backdrop of this movie, but doesn't really go the whole way with it, so it doesn't quite land. So I get that people weren't quite attached to that, but for me, the tension that he builds, because really, and now I'm always a fan of like. Small cast, one location.
Love those.
Scary.
Yes.
Love it. Fucking Evil Dead. Love those movies.
Yeah.
You've basically got, and I'm trying to tread really carefully, because I think this literally only came out last night when I went to see it. By the way, 10 people in the cinema.
Damn.
So I was like, you're essentially looking at like, you know, a family of 3, a mum, a dad, and a daughter. You know, it's the family in a location. There's a monster outside. But there's a monster inside as well, and they don't know.
Okay.
It's not a very gory movie. Again, we were just talking about how we're completely desensitized, so I might say it's not that gory. It turns out, but it's
people are fainting.
There's plenty of blood, and there's some like body horror in it, but it's certainly not. It's nothing. I don't think it touches the scale really of any kind of like gore.
Sure.
But there's some great scenes in it. There's some good use of jump scares that aren't traditional jump scares. The thing that he does that I really liked is there's parts where he really puts it in the perspective of I'm not spoiling anything. It's called Wolfman. Who do you think is fucking changing? The dad who's going through the transformation where it'll have. I think if you've seen in the trailer where the wife's on the CB saying my husband's been attacked by something, he comes like down the stairs into the basement where she is.
Okay.
Well, you see it perfectly. It's all perfectly lit as if like the room we're in now. Okay. And then as it comes from him into her perspective, you turn around and you see she's in pitch black.
Okay.
So it's as he's adjusting to being able to see in the dark as he's going through the change, but he's not aware of it, you know. And so like, she'll be talking to him as he's like going through, and he can't talk. Because but then when it goes to him, when he hears her, it's all like muffled. and he's going, "Why can't you understand what I'm saying to you right now?" And it's like, because he can't talk. You know what I mean?
His
So,
vocal cords are changing.
yeah, there's some really, really well
Okay.
shot, and without ever going like, "Oh, you've done that too many times." Visually, it's really good. Same with like, his hearing changes, and there is some really good practical effects.
Okay.
The transformation's really good when you get.
That was my other question.
Do you know what? It's very much people. A lot of people were kind of like comparing it to like, oh, he's tried to go for like Cronenberg's Fly movie, and I'm like, I don't think it's quite that.
Mm.
And then like, when there's the physical, the real transformation, it's it's nowhere near as good as, but it's very akin to American Werewolf.
Sure.
In that sort of like very.
That's
sort of
still like
shot. He's
the benchmark.
You just see him going through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The design as well is very much like, it's like a weird mix of Wolfman with that kind of Wendigo Skinwalker type of because they mention about Native American sort of like stuff in it. So Richie, it's definitely better than Werewolves, my man. We'll get there.
It already sounds much better than Werewolves.
So yeah, there's a couple of bits that sort of, there's like a not a twist, or I guess like a reveal that happens, and I was like, we knew that was going to happen, and then like they explain it, and you're like, we get
Obviously.
it. It's not that smart,
Okay.
So I think it's.
So is it the story that was kind of lacking, or?
I just think that all the sort of like things they try to do. It's a tight movie, and I think it's only like an hour 40, which I'm a fan of. I'm like, get in, get out, get done, But ironically, in this one, I'm actually saying like they didn't really, the whole generational trauma thing. You get it at the very start, and there's a taste for it, and then it doesn't really enter into the rest of the movie. They just let you know it's there. The strain between him and his wife is kind of, there's a little bit at the start, and then it doesn't really, you don't really understand why they're on the odds with each other.
Okay, it just establishes it.
I mean, maybe you don't need to. But for me, I was like, why is your marriage not? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't think it quite does that, but I still had a good time with it for the tension, them in that situation. What are they going to do? And I thought, in a way, if you verbally explain to me before going in the design of the creature, I might tell you like, that don't sound good to me at all. But I was like, do you know what? I didn't mind it so much by the time we got to it. So I think it's going to be a very hit and miss one. But if you're a fan of Lee Manel's films,
I am.
Go watch it, because I think you'll appreciate a lot of it, even if you maybe don't get on with the film. And then the other brand new one that I saw, which we'll kind of get to, is we've both seen Nosferatu.
Yes.
Which, controversially, I have not included in any considerations of my end of year, because it came out in 2025 here.
Right.
But you have, because it was
because it came out in America in 24. So I kind of bent the rule.
You might hear about it now and in a year's time.
Yes.
So I won't talk about it now, because we'll come to it at some point, whether it's honorable mentions or in your top 10. So we'll get there. But I will say very much so. Again, definitely goes on the list of Eggers movies that I very much enjoyed. And again, I'm not like, I like The Witch. I really enjoyed The Northman. Fucking Lighthouse was not for me, really. So I'm definitely not someone that just loves everything he does. This I really liked. It was definitely worth seeing. I can't wait to get the extended version of it, actually.
Oh, hell yeah.
To get more of it. So,
yeah.
So that's pretty much... And one other thing that I've been doing that I'll probably come to in honorable mentions is I finally got around 7 ago at that Indiana Jones.
Nice.
And the Great Circle game, and it's fucking wonderful. It's
so good to hear that.
Someone had to tell me that wasn't Harrison Ford. I can't believe that was Troy Baker doing the voice, because it's indistinguishable. It really is.
Yeah, that was the first thing I noticed when I saw the trailer a year or so ago, and I was like, "That's not Harrison Ford, but that's the best impersonator they probably could have found him."
Oh, dude!
And then when they went with Troy Baker, I was like,
"They got him." Oh, it's not.
He actually has another voice that isn't his own.
Man, it's phenomenal to watch. It's like, you really do feel like you're in an Indiana Jones movie, and this one sits between the 37. So this will sit between the first and third movies.
Okay, yeah,
because Temple of Doom's a prequel. Yeah. So this sits between.
It's before the Last Crusade.
Yes. Yeah. And you're in Rome at the start. I mean, like I said, I haven't got into it as much.
Yeah.
I'm like maybe like 5-6 hours into it. But it's
when
you've got that right sound design, like he's flying over the map and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you can see the trail he's leaving. Yeah,
the whip work.
Yeah.
It's good times. It's good
Man,
times. So
yeah,
definitely recommend it.
it's the one holdover I have from last year that I just not got around to. Yeah, I had it installed at one point, but it's just
The only thing that stopped me is I didn't realize. I had a quick Google and it's like a 30-hour game. I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit! I thought this was going to be like a 10-hour that I could just run through, and I was like, I want to give it some time then.
nice. Yeah, break it down. You're getting like a whole trilogy then in one game. Yeah, definitely need to get around to playing that myself.
Cool. Well,
Alrighty, well,
when you hit up, because I've got a couple of things I've watched are in your
yeah. So one of the first films I want to talk about is a film that came out in 2020. This was recommended to me through Phoenix Shroud, a member on our Discord, and he was like, Gary, I think you should check this one out. This is a film that kind of came out during the pandemic and didn't really it didn't find its audience, but I think you'll enjoy it. It's from writer-director Adam Reimer, and it stars Kyle Gallner, Yancey Fuqua, and Jennifer Kinker.
Oh yeah, those guys.
Right. And now, Kyle Gallner it was the second time last year that I'd seen a film with him in that I was like, you are great. You are going places. I want to see you in more projects. The other film that he was in that I'll probably talk about a bit later was Strange Darling. But Dinner in America's the synopsis. The story follows an on the lam punk rocker and a young woman obsessed with his band unexpectedly fall in love and go on an epic journey together through America's decaying Midwestern suburbs. It's an oddball film. It's
a road story, basically.
A little bit. I mean, it all takes place in this small town. You know, you've got Ian has put it in the chat perfectly. It's Napoleon Dynamite crossed with Hesher.
Okay.
That is the best. That is literally how I would also describe this movie to anyone. It's an oddball comedy with some really nice, sweet, tender moments about two characters that you couldn't possibly imagine falling in love, but do. And when they do, you see how sweet it is that she's also starts writing and singing songs for him, despite this like punk rock kind of persona. There's like a gentler person inside. It's one of those films. I don't really want to go into all the details. I probably already said too much, but I do recommend Dinner in America. Put it on your to watch list if you can find it. Next one we'll talk about is Secret Level.
Yay!
It's an animated TV series based on video games, animated shorts. I intended to watch all of this over the Christmas, but I've only got halfway through. And I have to say, there were a couple of standouts already in that first half.
It's like a typical anthology, isn't it?
Yeah, the Warhammer 40k episode and the Unreal Tournament were absolutely my highlights so far. Although the opening Dungeons & Dragons-esque one, still very vibrant.
What's the one that had Arnie in? I don't know what game that's based
on. Was that the... I don't know what it was based on. Is that the one where he keeps trying to become the king, the ruler?
Oh my god. It's like, 0.2 seconds in. Second he opens his mouth.
Yeah, that's Arnie.
Oh my god, we're going to go this.
That was really good, yeah. Actually, I until you mentioned it, I completely forgot on that one. No, that was it. Because you roll into the next one and the next one, and some of them are so good, you struggle to remember all the ones.
100%, yeah. The 40k one was amazing, wasn't it?
And it's something to just go, look, we need more of this sort of storytelling. We need this universe explored more in a visual medium, other than like tabletop figures in wonderful illustrated artwork in all of the magazines and all the promo stuff for all those figures.
It's nice as well when you've got all those announcements of Amazon like, hey, we're gonna take on the 40k universe and turn it into like this, and you're like, okay, and you see this and you're like, okay, you might be okay.
Yeah,
you might be all right.
Hopefully, because nothing 40k gets released, does it, without some oversight from
very
Workshop?
Yeah,
very guarded.
They back home a few years back, probably like a decade now. They were all their IP back in house, and they were very careful about what they put out there.
Yeah.
This was good.
Alrighty. The next thing that I'm not so excited to talk about, but considering I hyped it up almost all of last year, I have to mention that I finally walked out on the movie Werewolves.
Fuck this movie. You and me. How far did you get through it?
About 50 minutes. The sequence I got to was when they were finally out of the complex and they were going through the city.
And they were under the cars and shit?
Yeah, that was it.
Done.
I'm done.
I was like, if you don't fire that fucking pistol,
right.
I'm done. There's nothing happened in this movie.
they've shown like there's so many. They've shown that people are getting souped up. They're getting Rambo ready to face these werewolves. They know they're coming. Purge with werewolves. They know these werewolves are coming. Yet we follow like one person, and he doesn't last very long when the werewolf outbreak occurs. And then so we follow these two other characters, Frank Grillo and Katrina Law. They're two characters whose names I can't even remember. They're so plain and devoid of characterization. They may as well have just been standees moving around, just like the werewolves moving around. And that's the problem, is that they go, you know what, this super moon, it's gonna rain, everyone on the planet that touches this moon, you're gonna turn into werewolves. And then we were promised no CGI. We've got prosthetics. We've got werewolf costumes. We got 3 of them.
I wish they could have used CGI on this one. That's it. That's what the werewolves can do. They can't even flex.
The Thunderbirds had more animation in them than these werewolves.
God. And I like the fact as well that they went with like, it's like when they turn into werewolves, they're like, if you got tattoos, the werewolf's going to have tattoos. Dude's got face paint on. That fucking thing's got face paint on. It's like, still wearing the clothes that he was on and stuff. You're like, sweet. Does fuck all.
It didn't add any personality to the werewolves. The fact that that they tried very poorly, I feel, to highlight how many werewolves there were supposed to be in a given situation by just going, shot of 3 werewolves over there. Cut. Shot of 3 werewolves over there. Cut. God. Shot of 3 werewolves. I'm like, okay, so you're trying to tell me there's like 9 werewolves here, but I'm just seeing the same 3 in different positions.
Felt like maybe they didn't yell action because a lot of the time they're not doing. They're just kind of stuck there. Like,
it's the sequence where she comes into the house and the werewolves in the background, like
the nan.
Yes, and the werewolves just stood there like, God, hope she doesn't see me. Yeah. It's like he's more afraid than she is.
Oh my God. It's so fucking dumb.
Big disappointment. Absolutely gutted.
Grillo, man, as well. It's like you felt like it was he was, I felt like he was working hard, like he was trying. But I don't know, and the big problem for me is like nothing happened, and it's like nothing like nothing that they put in place to stop them worked.
I was
intrigued. Guy that was all tooled up, and what happened? The werewolf was just like, take this fucking fridge through your front window. Then the moon hits him, and he just turns into a werewolf. And like, you didn't think that through, did you?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
You've had all this time. You bought your fucking AR-16. You didn't think to put a bar on your window, you fucking idiot. Like,
exactly. So just bad writing. I mean, it had the guy from La Bamba in it. What's his face?
Lou Diamond Phillips.
Yeah, Lou Diamond Phillips. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. We're actually following the scientists, and we're seeing them like panic and get desperate because they've had a year of research and planning for this. And
he was as useful as a scientist as he was as useful to fucking Kiefer Sutherland in Renegades when he was fucking laid out. Like,
So, Werewolves is only worth a watch if you've absolutely watched everything else
that's ever been made. I wanted it to be good as well.
Yeah.
So, Werewolves, I was like, sign me the fucking...
Yeah, so biggest disappointment of the year was Werewolves. So. I literally, because I watched it on Christmas Eve. Like, I'd finished doing my work. I'd got all my work done. I was like, right, I'll finally get to see Werewolves. And it was just awful. So, moving on to something that wasn't awful, but something that absolutely choked me the hell up. This was amazing. The Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. And it told the story of Reeve's rise to becoming a film star following the near-fatal horse riding accident in 1995 that left him paralyzed from the neck down. After the accident, he became an activist for spinal cord injury treatments and disability rights. And this documentary follows his first partner, his wife, and his children, recounting stories of him, his personal battles. It goes to the lows of the lowest that Christopher Reeve ever was in his life, at the point of, I want to die. Like, my life is over. I'm just ahead. I can think, but I cannot touch. I cannot feel, and his ability to love life like he did is gone. And on top of the fact that it's framed beautifully and obviously
it's not just a linear story, is it?
That's right. It cuts back and forth, but it establishes his rise as Superman, and so an icon, a cinematic icon. It goes from his film, his drama days, to people close to him telling him, "Don't do that Superman film." Like, that's
the story about his father, where he got the Superman role, and his
Dad was disappointed.
He mistook it for like an old play with the
Yeah.
word Superman in it, and so
Yeah.
we've got this really prestigious theater.
Yeah.
And like, no, Dad,
It's the
the guy in the red pants, you know, and
So
my
yeah,
God.
like his very strict dad almost disowning him.
I watched this last week, and Donna and Jessica just got in. I was maybe 5-10 minutes into it, and the kid came and said, like, "What are you watching?" I explained it to her, and she literally just cuddled into me, and we watched the whole thing together.
Yeah,
and it's a beautiful documentary, and it's got, I mean, the talking heads on it. You've got like Susan Sarandon, Glenn Close, Jeff Daniels is in it.
I didn't realize how close a friend he was to Robin Williams.
I didn't know. I'd heard the Russian dwarf story,
right?
Which, if anyone doesn't know, I'm not spoiling the documentary because it's a story that's out there. Is they talk about the Russian dwarf story is Robin Williams when very early when the accident happened, because they were friends in college and stuff, and they came up through theater together. Christopher Reeve is like godfather to his eldest son.
That's
I had no idea how close they were. But basically, one evening, Christopher Reeve is in the hotel, obviously on his own, obviously can't move from the waist down. Dwarfling's open. There's a small man with a surgical mask on with a Russian accent telling him that he's there to do his colonoscopy. Turns out it's Robin Williams coming in to cheer his best friend up in the hospital.
Yeah,
it's
so the sweetest damn thing, isn't it?
You can, man. But when Glenn Close says, "If Christopher Reeve hadn't passed, we'd still have Robin Williams."
Yeah,
me and the kid were just like, we were so choked out.
Yeah, it's true, because Robin Williams was broken. He was broken when he lost one of his best friends.
Yeah,
and because when you see some of the behind the scenes stuff, you realize that because Christopher Reeve has kind of got this posture and this presence, you know, when he was able.
Yeah, there's so much amazing footage.
But you don't, seeing exactly, and to see that personality that you don't see in the films come through as a person other than an actor, and like he was on Robin's level of being able to, of that kind of comedic level, their timing, their back and forth. It's like that insight was really magic to see. On top of the whole documentary just being so well put together. If you're a fan of Superman, if you're a fan of Christopher Reeve, if you are interested in any of that, it's the documentary to watch.
I didn't realize as well how much footage there was of the early days of him in the hospital.
Yeah.
Of the you know, I don't know if it was like maybe it's already out there or something like that, but it's to me, I was like, I've never seen this kind of footage or anything like that of like him in the hospital going through it.
Yeah.
So it shows you a really sort of like unabashed, you know, view of the man and what he went through.
It was his wife who saved him as well, because when she said to him, like, "You're worth staying here for," but it was the cadence in her voice, the way she delivered it, and that she was willing to sacrifice everything to help Christopher Reeve as well. It was love. It was beautiful to see on screen.
It's a beautiful documentary, it really is.
Yeah. Alrighty, another documentary finally got released. George A. Romero's Resident Evil, the documentary of the unmade film, just released on January 7th. Uncorked was honored to bring his documentary to fans. President of Uncorked Entertainment said, "This documentary pays homage to Romero's incredible vision and the power of storytelling that transcends what could have been. We're excited for audiences to finally experience the mystery and legacy of his work in a whole new way."
Well, because I haven't seen it.
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed. I'm a huge George A. Romero fan. I love Resident Evil. I love zombie media and zombie stories. So for me, it was like, I need to see this immediately. And it was a very well put together documentary. There was lots of interesting snippets of people, of production people and fans of George, and like zombies that acted in the Resident Evil 2 live action trailer pop up and talk about how they were fans of George and how George treated his fans. And like there was this one fan who was just like, he had all these questions for George, but when he got to meet him, he couldn't get the words out. So George just went, "Here's my address, write me all your questions and I'll respond." And he did. And then years later, you know, he met that guy and he was just like, come on the film set, just come follow me around. You can come around, hang out. Like that was what he was like to his fans, you know, just shares his love and passion for filmmaking.
So I guess I've got to ask, did we really miss out on what was going to be a good film here? Do you think?
Oh man, anything would have been fucking better than what we got.
I mean, that goes without fucking say. You mean it would have been like Resident Evil rather than what we got? Yeah.
It would have been in a mansion. I mean, I still have my reservations.
Umbrella, that's enough, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, because like George's script, they got rid of Umbrella. Wasn't even like the pharmaceutical company involved. Chris was a farmer that lived in the Arkley kind of mountains area and gets caught, and his girlfriend is Jill Valentine, who is working undercover, so he doesn't even know she is a stars. But there's no stars; they're just good police.
Just make some sandwiches all day. Jill sandwiches.
So, it still took place in the mansion. There were still science experiments gone awry, and some of the other monsters and zombies and so on. But yeah, there's a lot of little changes which I'm still just like, I never liked them in the first place. Like watching a Jill and Chris sex scene in a Resident Evil movie is just like, no, George, like what is this? Like no. But it was still George. It was still his ideas. George never played Resident Evil. He, his partner or someone literally played
Resident Evil. Ever made any Resident Evil ever played a fucking game.
They've just said it so they can like get the job. But George made no friends. He was like, yeah, I don't play the games, but I've watched them play the games. And it was when George was watching somebody play the games, he was just like, hey, I made those zombies are like the ones I made. So he was just seeing his influence in other stuff. And so he was, but then like it was interesting watching him on the set of the Resident Evil 2 trailer, and when he was refilming stuff, he was like, oh, I've done this before. Oh, this is something I've done before. So he felt like he was already just repeating himself at that point, which was something he didn't. You could tell that he was still happy, but there was something like, oh, like I'm just repeating myself here for the sake of it. But it was his niche. That was his thing. The documentary itself, I found it was a bit too padded. Like maybe way too padded. The first half of the documentary was, hey, do you know who George is? He made Night of the Living Dead.
Okay.
And then he made all these other films, and then he made Dawn of the Dead. And then he made these other, and then he made Day of the Dead.
Spin on.
And do you know what Resident Evil is?
Yeah.
No, it's this. Do you know who made Resident Evil? It's these guys. And guess what? They made Resident Evil. So I'm like,
start on disc 2, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So, but then I was like, that's my problem. Like, I know all of this stuff. So this documentary's not giving me anything new.
You know, that's kind of like when we talked about the Vince McMahon documentary that dropped on Netflix.
I already know all this.
It's like, I know all this. What the fuck?
But
what was the point in that? But again,
it's a perfect recap. It tells you everything from everywhere.
Not everyone is a huge fan of George and knows all the backstory. So that's the point of the documentary, is to document.
Right? Yeah.
You can't really like, what's all this fucking information?
Yeah, but stylistically as well, like all of the bullet point details come up on the typewriter. Resident Evil sound effects. They brought in the live action actors from the opening sequence of the original game.
You know, I noticed because there's a few of them, especially the guy that Barry.
Yeah,
huge on the fucking like Comic-Con circuit in the UK at the minute.
I mean, I already knew this again going into it, but none of the cast of Resident Evil 1, the game, knew that Resident Evil was a success until decades later. You know, like it's only been the last 10 years.
Think they knew what they were filming for, did they?
Yeah, they did. It was a game called Biohazard, which never released outside of Japan because it didn't. It became Resident Evil, and they just didn't know that. There was,
it's like the artwork on the front cover, isn't it? Where it's just generic army guy.
Yeah, right.
Kind of Stallone-esque.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, I guess that's Chris.
Yeah. But again, it was very sad. Like I got emotional towards the end of the George Aero documentary because obviously George passed, and the film obviously goes into how the project never came to fruition, and then the documentary also closed with I guess a warning to everyone that's a fan of Resident Evil that there's gonna be another one, because Constantin Films, they purchased the rights from Capcom, obviously, and in order to retain the rights, they have to make a Resident Evil movie every 5 years. Guess what? We're gonna see a Resident Evil film from Constantin Films either this year or next year, or the rights go back to Capcom. And I don't think Constantine are going to let that happen, because I don't think they're going to get a deal quite as good as they did on the original contract if that should expire. So expect another straight to shitty-o Resident Evil movie in the next year or two, and that's so that documentary kind of ends. I was like, no.
What did they call? Was it Welcome to Raccoon City? Was that last?
Yeah, that was the last one.
I got further into werewolves than I did that piece of shit. I got to admit.
Oh man, I've seen that twice now.
So maybe watch werewolves before you watch Raccoon City. Yeah. I didn't take long for me to turn that fucking shit off.
But yeah, definitely check out the George story for sure. Here's a very quick review, because I don't want to talk about this very long. Gladiator 2. Absolute shit show. Absolute shit show. I didn't like Gladiator 1, but that was a freaking masterpiece compared to whatever that was.
You watched Gladiator 1 the other day, because the trailer for this came up, and I've not seen 2 yet, and I was like... All I did is finish fucking Gladiator 1 and go, we don't need a sequel to this.
You don't. I like gladiatorial arena stuff. I'm looking forward to the House of Asher, Spartacus.
Yeah.
We've got to wait until December.
So why was this so bad then, in general?
Awful writing.
Oh, okay.
Awful acting. The main character, like Frank Grillo, had more going on in Werewolves than he did in
Werewolves. Just climbing up that ladder.
Actually, watch Werewolves before you watch Gladiator 2. Wow. It's got better effects in it, because there's no shitty CGI monkeys or sharks or there's so much CGI in Gladiator. Like even like the rats running around in the background, all fucking CGI. Like, it's all CGI. It's atrociously bad. The performances, the main actor is like a plank. An actual plank. He has no inflections in his voice. He says everything like he's reading it for the first time off the script. He has no emotion, no feeling whatsoever. And so rooting for him, you're like, what? You got Pedro Pascal, who's working his ass off.
Remind me, is the main guy basically the kid from the first one?
Yeah. Atrocious. Absolutely pathetic. And an absolute waste of my fucking time.
I'll wait for streaming.
So,
or maybe moving on. Who knows?
Another game that I've one of the reasons why I didn't manage to get around to Indiana Jones is I've been playing a game called Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader on PC. It's a game that came out a little while ago, and I kind of put it on the wish list, but after playing Baldur's Gate 3 through a few times, really enjoying that turn-based strategic combat.
Yeah, Rogue Trader was
now in the 40k universe.
40K was called 40k.
Wow, well, okay.
Basically, Rogue Trader was first edition Warhammer 40k.
Nice, yeah. That was the name of the magazine, right?
No, it's White Dwarf.
White Dwarf, okay, yeah. But yeah, I'm not... See, I'm out of my element. And there's a lot of lore and a lot of heavy-going stuff in it for someone like me who's like, I'm fucking clue. So
you get all the grimdark, absolutely.
Yeah, but I do like that grimdark. There's so many horror moments that happen when the ship's flying through the warp. That's kind of fascinating. I'm like, okay, I can see why, because there's all these stories going on here that's just fascinating. That's why I'm like, give me that Warhammer universe, because I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to play the tabletop, so give me those stories. Give me that universe.
That's my favourite. Anytime, because I like to read a lot of the novels based on the Chaos armies and stuff like that. So anytime that they're travelling through the warp, that's the best, They're I think it was the Black Legion novel where they're traveling through in the Geller Field, which is what they used to surround the ships to stop demonic incursions, drops, and then.
But that was it. There was a story that I'd come across this terminal, and the ships come out of the warp, and it was just the warp field or whatever went down in this area, and so they went in there and just found all the remains of the people huddled behind a makeshift barricade in the corner, but they're all dead. It was just like, oh, what horrible thing happened in there.
I mean, it's Fifth Event Horizon all over.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, sure, I didn't think at the beginning, I was like, this is janky. I'm skipping dialogue. I'm skipping text because there's not even any dialogue. It's just walls of text. And I was like, I'm here for the gameplay. But now a few hours in, I'm like, what have you got to say? What was that? Oh shit, I'm reading. I must be in.
I must
caught myself. So yeah, it's really, really good.
Before you move on to the news, just one other thing as well, because we were talking about it the other day, is so you caught the premiere of Raw on Netflix?
Don't tell everyone!
Did you? Nerd!
I even stayed up for it.
Oh my god. Oh, okay. All right. No, that's good. So, All right, so how was it streaming live on Netflix? As in, like, did you get the Red Ring of Doom at all or anything while you were streaming it? Well, there was the whole thing on it when the Tyson Paul fight was on.
Yeah.
There's people watching it live on Netflix and it just stopped streaming because it couldn't handle it. No problem?
No problem.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's
no
good.
problem.
Obviously, it's on at like 2 a.m., isn't it?
Like, because I think The Rock, when he came out, he said something. I think he swore. I think he dropped an F-bomb. I think.
So they're trying to live.
So because there was a few moments where the audio just dipped out. Like, you could still hear the crowd, but they dipped out. Yes, whoever was on microphone. So I was like, okay, we're getting like a minute delay maybe from the live.
The Rock now being on the board of directors where he can do whatever he wants without getting fired is so funny because he showed up on NXT the same week. Right. It was like within 10 seconds was like, fuck yeah! Like, it's just, just like drops like 3 F-bombs. You know, and you're like,
we're off American Network, we say whatever we want.
Pretty much.
So yeah, I left Raw mostly positive, but after reflection,
it was a weird show.
It was a weird show because it was my first Raw in nearly 20 years.
Yep.
And I mean, I was actually pretty positive to begin with, but after time went, I was like, it was like an award ceremony show for the corporate people behind the thing. All these celebrities we got here, all the Netflix people we got here. Netflix, hey, we're on this is the Netflix era now. I'm like, all of this just felt like promotion and sponsorship and like
they said Netflix so many times wrong.
Like, we know
we're watching it on Netflix. We've already paid the money. We don't need to keep going on about it.
Yes,
this isn't for anyone else.
So I got a little bit sick of that.
For you, imagine how weird it was for someone who knows the storylines.
Right? Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, it was good. For one, I was like, this looks fucking incredible. I mean,
it was slick.
That
the
stadium they
picked
was a great stadium.
Yeah.
Arena, sorry, was a great arena to use.
Yeah.
It was, like you said, it was slick. It looked amazing.
I hated
Dwayne Johnson,
the ring.
With
hated
all the sponsorships on it.
I was like, this is not.
I think I'm immune to it now, but this
You've
is
been
me
watching
6 months ago. Rip that fucking Prime logo off the front, please. Like, you know what I mean?
I do not need. I've got Fortnite. Like, I blink and I can still see fucking Fortnite in my eyes.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
No, I was glad they removed that.
For me,
in week
it was,
2.
The Rock coming out and just basically like undoing the storyline we've been using. For the last 2
he was
years.
a hero last time I remember.
Say hi to your mum, and I'm like, what do you mean the mum you verbally abused? You fucking tit. I'm like, so what? Moana 2's doing well in cinemas. So you're a nice guy again now. And he comes out with his tail. I'm like, that's really annoying. But saying that,
I want to go into the first match was the Bloodline, right? And they were fighting for the thingy-majiggy, and
the Ulafala.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to remember that.
The Duke. Yeah.
The what?
The MacGuffin.
The MacGuffin. Yeah. I don't know what that is. It's everything. So they were fighting over the MacGuffin. I was like, well, clearly, like, not Rhodes. Reigns is winning this. Like, come on. Like, if he loses this, he's like.
Do you know? I got to admit, it was a little bit in the community. It was don't know actually.
For me, I was like, Reigns won this hands down easy. But that was how I felt watching the match.
Good match.
But
yeah, good physical match.
I was shaking my head though. 15 seconds into it, I was like, oh, this is the first match of the Netflix era, and they lock up, and after 15 seconds, they're both out of the ring, and I was like, you've not even done a single move yet, and you're out of the ring. Yeah. This is the first match of the new Raw, and you're both out of the ring.
There was a lot of very. I was like, can't argue with that criticism of like you could have put on like a wrestling match before I mean, don't get me wrong,
high energy, quick fire.
It's fine that them leaving the ring was fine because it was that type of match. It was a no holds barred.
Yes, it was.
It's supposed to be a violent affair, and it was very good. But yeah,
it should have been a wrestling match.
People in, they could have actually had a wrestling match.
The Penta
Ripley
Gable match from week 2 should have been the opener for the new era of Netflix. That is what you should have done.
That was so good. Yeah. So that as well has made me be like, oh, we're good. We've done our fucking corporate thing. We're back on track now.
Yeah.
We're going. I mean, don't get me wrong. The final match between Rollins and Punk.
Yes, that was really good. Yeah.
Brilliant match. You know what I mean? It did make me laugh that I was like, because obviously when Rhea got the title back against Liv, and I was like, why'd the Undertaker have to come out and steal your thunder?
Totally.
I'm like,
absolutely.
If I was in the arena, I'd have popped as well. She's like, that's the fucking Undertaker.
Yeah, that was it. I felt like...
But when he came out, I was like, why?
I mean, I cheered because I was like, I started with Triple H. I was like, I know him. And
Hey,
then The
listen,
Rock came out. I was like, I know him.
he had a
Then
good-
Hogan came out. I was like, oh, I know
Hey,
him.
listen, I think the boos that rang out at that arena, I think it was disgusting.
Poor Jimmy Hart.
Poor Jimmy
He did
Hart,
not deserve
he
that.
didn't. And you all booed him.
Right?
Are they
Got some
saying
heat,
boo
brother.
or boo brother?
Yeah.
They're saying boo brother, baby. Like, yeah, that was the best. My favorite thing about it is when it. No, is when it. Yeah, the long walk back. I was like, that feels like miles, doesn't it? But is when he first came out. When it shows the wide shot, the music hits, and I swear to God, guys, maybe our age or something, the like Manchurian Candidate thing popped in them, and they went, "Oh no, that's right." Oh wait,
No, we can't do that anymore.
oh, he said some racist stuff, didn't he? That's right.
Oh, he supported the other guy that we didn't want to vote for.
You know what? I thought of that at first. I thought, like, is it because they're in
The political thing,
Yeah,
and it's a
but-
red
yeah,
state,
but-
blue state.
Taker came out and got a huge effect. Taker had Trump on his fucking podcast, for God's sake.
True, this is very true.
So I was
I'm like, it's
that's
not
the racism. it was all the racist stuff he said.
I think it's not just that, but I think even wrestlers, all fans of wrestling have now, there's so much anti-Hogan material on the web,
He just
everywhere.
came out to
It's
shill his
exposed
beer
everything
and-
about him that people are just sick of it. Just sick of him. So it's kind of sad.
Oh, yeah, Jimmy, you got some heat out here, brother.
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
Jimmy Hart waving that flag
Yeah.
like,
Slowing down. It's the last time.
my
It's the
God.
last time.
man, that got picked up by like the Daily Mail.
Yeah, that
And
news
stuff.
story,
And
yeah.
part of it, I mean, hey, listen, if there's no such thing as bad press, they got some great press out of this.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I was like, I felt bad for the company and all the work put in, because it's like you had, like, you know, Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan showed that women's wrestling is just as fucking good as men's
Yeah.
now, with an amazing contest, great storyline. You had Punk and Seth, and
Yeah.
Reigns and stuff. And all anyone's talking about is like, wow, no one likes Hulk Hogan, do they? It's like probably not what they wanted.
No.
He's
He's still like one of the still the most iconic wrestler of all
still
time.
working the gimmick, brother.
Still working it. Yeah.
Came out, yeah. Oh my God, it was something else, wasn't it? But saying that, so very quickly, and the reason I wanted to bring it up is, even though our compadre is off of his sick note, we've got in 2 weeks the Royal Rumble pay-per-view coming up. Now,
I always like this pay-per-view.
favorite pay-per-view of the year for
Yep.
most people. This is the one where non-fans get involved as well, because it's a great gimmick match where
Yes.
anything can happen. We get returns and everything. So
It's a match that's over an hour long.
Yep. And we've got a women's version now as well, which has been great the last few years. Now, I will say this for the Royal Rumble. I've gone back and watched them recently, and I got to admit, the last couple of years that Triple H has booked the Royal Rumble, I'm like, I think that's a chink in his armor. I think he struggles to book a good Royal Rumble, because for the last 2 years, it's kind of been the same thing. It's come down to that. I don't know what year it was. It would have been like maybe 06, 07. The end of the Rumble, it came down to Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, and we kind of got this mini match that went on for 5-10 minutes of them trying to get each other over the ropes.
Yeah.
And that's how the last two Rumbles have kind of finished.
Okay.
And I'm kind of like, can we do something new this year? I'd like to hope. I'd just like to see them maybe do something we haven't seen, which is easier said than done. But however, so I wanted to give our Rumble predictions.
Yeah. Now,
So-
the last two Raws, I don't know about SmackDowns. I've not watched them or NXT. But there's been a couple of good promos, like Cena's promo joining the Rumble.
That was an interesting one.
Along with Punk and... don't tell me.
Oh, he's working hard to not say Triple H, I'm telling you. Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins, thank you.
Drew McIntyre.
Drew
declared
yes. So that promo was pretty great.
So based on what you've got, and I appreciate it's limited, so it's like,
Yeah.
what do you think for the men's and the women's? You got any prediction for the women's at all? About being funny? Because they haven't really...
I
the
don't
women's
know
haven't
many of
really
them.
put it on the forefront like the men's have.
I mean, I only just admitted it to me the other day, but I was like, I actually quite liked Rhea Ripley. She was actually quite impressive in her match. Yeah, so...
So good. She won't be in it because
she's just taking champion
Yeah.
now. So, but I have, like, last 2 to 3 months now, I've been playing WWE 2K24. So I've actually seen some more of the roster that I've not actually seen in the show yet. But Liv Morgan was actually quite an impressive wrestler as well.
Yeah,
so
she's good.
I don't know if they'd make her win for a rematch with Ripley after that storyline. Because one thing I will give Michael Cole, of all people, I never thought in my life I would be like, thank you, Michael Cole. But coming into wrestling after 20 years of going Triple H, like I didn't have a clue who all these people were, but Michael Cole was there for a simpleton like me to go, that's who this is, that's how much they weigh, that's what titles they've had, this is who they've rivaled with, this is their moves, and this is what you can expect from them tonight.
Michael Cole's amazing now.
He absolutely.
It's so funny that when there's not an insane old man screaming in his ear that he's actually a good commentator.
Yes.
Who would have knew?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was very impressed with Michael Cole, and he got the wrestlers over to me, and that made me tune in.
That's his job.
Week 2. So
what do you think of the Raw? You got any idea?
For the men's Rumble? You know what? I like Cena. I didn't like Cena early wrestling days. He then became big when I wasn't watching. I was like, yeah, whatever. I can't see him, you know. And then the Suicide Squad came along. Peacemaker came along. I was like, oh, I fucking love you, John Cena. You're great. And then reading about all of his like Make-A-Wish Foundation stuff, all the stuff he's done with fans.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, no doubt.
Like, so I'm like, he's got a good heart. He's morally sound. I've not seen any of the horrible things anyone said about him. Nowhere. So I'm like, he's a good guy. So when he did his like, I haven't won a match in 3 years, I was like, what?
Yeah, and this is for anyone who doesn't know, he's announced ahead of time that this is his final year in the business.
Yes.
And he did come out on the first Raw and mention that like the whole thing of he's tied with Ric Flair for the most titles of all time.
Yeah.
At 16 each, so this would be his 17th.
Yes. So based on
title.
that, I'm going to say Cena to win the Rumble because it's his last Rumble, and then he will main event WrestleMania.
So that's the other thing. Yeah, sorry if you don't know. Is like you by winning the Rumble, you get to go into the main event.
So I think like it's Cena's last one. Give it to him now.
Don't get me wrong. I think that's not a bad prediction at all. Our boy messaged me earlier and told us that he believes for the Royal Rumble that Kevin Owens, who's in a ladder match that night with Cody Rhodes for the title, so technically not in the Rumble yet. Loses that ladder match and inserts himself into the Rumble and wins it by doing like a Steve Austin style run. So basically, he'll knock someone out who's supposed to be in it and take their place so that he can face Rhodes at WrestleMania.
So is this an accidental or planned spot that Ian's thinking?
Yeah, on purpose.
Yeah.
So and me and Ian have exactly not just like not just who we think will win the women's. A return, and also who they'll face at WrestleMania. As both of us believe that Charlotte Flair will return at the Rumble.
She's awesome.
Win it, and then choose to face Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania.
Okay. I do admit I have seen a few of Charlotte Flair's matches over the years because obviously it's descendant of Flair.
He's a gangster.
She is intimidating in that ring, and I love her getup, her the performance of her just walking into the ring.
She's her dad's daughter. Don't you
oh hell yeah!
my prediction now. I'm going to say that Cena doesn't win the Rumble.
Okay.
He tries again at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
Fails.
Okay. So
he's going to win the Money in the Bank this year.
Okay.
He has come back at both Money in the Banks the last 2 years. One I was there for. And when he did that interview, he talked about, if I don't win the Rumble, I could go the Elimination Chamber. If I don't do that, I could go Money in the Bank. I think he's going to have it where he's going to put over all the
stars
younger
again.
Talent. Yeah. He's going to pick up the Money in the Bank. And that'll be, won't even necessarily cash it in for Mania, but that'll be, I think he'll call his shot. Rather than surprising. I think that you're going to see Roman Reigns kind of ally maybe with like Seth Rollins, but then eliminate him along with Drew so that Seth starts seeing Drew's point of view about Roman like sort of betraying everyone.
Yeah.
And along with Owens, they're going to form a faction against Roman Reigns because they're all basically their whole thing is why is everyone called Roman Reigns all of a sudden after this last year? By the way, instead of the Shield, it's going to be called the Sword.
Okay.
Punk is going to be eliminated last
from the Rumble
by Roman Reigns, who's going to win.
Okay.
And then Punk is going to use the favor that Paul Heyman owes him to somehow insert himself into the WrestleMania main event. That's what I think is going to be. Whether it's like he gets him into the Elimination Chamber to do it, or whether he just gets inserted into the match.
Yeah.
But that's what it's going to be. Because I also believe that when they announce 2K25 this year, Reigns is going to be the star.
Yeah.
And the showcase is going to be his 1,000-day reign.
Right.
And we're finally going to get to play the WrestleMania 40 main event that should have been on the game.
Right.
Finish it. So there you go. So come back
Alrighty.
next month when I'm sitting going, wow, I was way off.
Told you.
I was miles off.
Told you Triple H was going to win.
Yeah, fucking rain.
Right, well, we have gone way over time.
There's two of us here as well.
I know, we're already an hour in. So I think we will shoot through some I was about to say some wrestling news.
Yeah.
No. Some actual film news. Sadly, now I was almost like 2 seconds away from
So close, yeah.
having a podcast without an obituary, where we do like to pay our respects to those in the entertainment industry that have given us so much. And very sadly, I'm going to report that Olivia Hussey has passed away at the age of 73. Best known for her role in Black Christmas in 1974. She also played Juliet in Romeo and Juliet in the 1968 adaptation. She was also in Death on the Nile in 1978, and the first time I ever saw her as well was in Stephen King's It TV miniseries in 1990. Olivia Hussey also provided the voice for Talia al Ghul in the Batman Beyond and many other video games, including Star Wars Rogue Squadron, and The Old Republic, and so many others. Mick Garris, who directed Hussey in Psycho 4, wrote on Twitter this weekend, it's a very heavy heart that I share the passing of the beautiful, talented, kind, and loving Olivia Hussey on December 27th. One of the loveliest people I've ever known, let alone had the honour and pleasure to work with. Condolences to daughter India Isley and partner David. So yeah, very sad to see that she had passed.
Talented.
And now this next one, I'll be honest and say I shed a tear just the other day reading some of the tributes that poured out for this one. But I'm very sad to report that David Lynch has passed away at the age of 78. Eraserhead, Dune, Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks, Lost Highway, The Elephant Man, Inland Empire. Man, this man has left his mark in cinema. And I'm going to try not to choke up just reading Kyle MacLachlan's tribute that he posted. 42 years ago, for reasons beyond my comprehension, David Lynch plucked me out of obscurity to star in his first and last big-budget movie. He clearly saw something in me that even I didn't recognize. I owe my entire career and life, really, to his vision. What I saw in him was an enigmatic and intuitive man with a creative ocean bursting forth inside of him. He was in touch with something the rest of us wish we could get to. Our friendship blossomed on Blue Velvet and then Twin Peaks, and I always found him to be the most authentically alive person I'd ever met. David was in tune with the universe and his own imagination on a level that seemed to be best version of human. He was not interested in answers, because he understood that questions are the drive that makes us who we are. They are our breath. While the world has lost a remarkable artist, I've lost a dear friend who imagined a future for me and allowed me to travel in worlds I could never have conceived on my own. I will miss him more than the limits of my language can tell and my heart can bear. My world is that much fuller because I knew him, and that much emptier now he's gone. David, I remain forever changed and forever your Kale. Thank you for everything. Man, a wonderful tribute. And the fact that he signed it Kale as well as like an in-joke to this on set of Dune, where is it Dino De Laurentiis who or somebody who couldn't get his name right, so kept calling him Kale instead of Kyle, and so David Lynch just took it on board and called him Kale for the rest of their days. So it's just their friendship, like seeing it on screen in Twin Peaks, seeing them behind the scenes, beautiful. David Lynch, man, he is all of the tributes that are pouring out to him are incredible and will break your heart, man.
It's a very rare sort of thing again for an artist to be able to just do what they want to do in that industry. It's so it's so difficult,
inspirational,
constrained by, say, studio sort of like, parameters and stuff. And
Yeah.
so if you go on Wikipedia and there's obviously the movies that and series that you mentioned there, obviously that he's most famous for, but his actual list of, like, say, just experimental projects is fucking 10 times longer.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, those are just the most coherent.
There's where he's like,
ones.
I'm just gonna do this today,
Yeah.
kind of attitude, which we could absolutely use more.
He was an artist, and he just got to play in his imagination and try to put those ideas, onto screen. He said he's an ideas man, and that's what he found the most exciting thing in life, was to be able to have these ideas that they are like there in an instant, and you don't know where they come from, and he just wants to keep pulling from that place where they're coming from. Brilliant. Yeah, he's in a league of his own.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, we got some more details on the Welcome to Derry, the Pennywise the Clown It prequel TV show.
I swear we've been talking about this for 5 years.
We probably have.
Like,
Andy Muschietti and Barbara Muschietti and Jason Fuchs have revealed that the show will consist of 3 seasons, and provided the first season does well enough, he's teased that Welcome to Derry will kick off its story in the year 1962, in the time leading up to the events of It Chapter 1, and from there the planned second and third seasons will go back in time and back in time decades again. He said it's a story that's based on the interludes of the book. The interludes are basically chapters that reflect Mike Hanlon's research. They're fragments of his research. For 27 years, it's the guy trying to figure out what it is, what it did, who did it, who saw it, and all that stuff. So they talk about the catastrophic events from the past, like the fire in the Black Spot, the massacre of the Bradley gang, a gang of bank robbers in the 30s, and the explosion of the kitchen ironworks. So every time Pennywise comes out of hibernation, there's this catastrophic event that happens at the beginning of that cycle. And he said there's a reason why the story's being told backwards, and we're not really going to tell you that reason, but it'll make sense when you're watching. So the series will air on HBO and streaming on Max, but no release date just yet.
fucking get on with it. Seriously, I do feel like we've been talking about that for ages.
It's going to come out and be like, oh, have we seen this already?
Fucking dragons will turn up in George R.R. Martin stuff before that. They're coming.
Alien Romulus news. They have fixed it, apparently. Well, they fixed the controversial Ian Holm CGI for the home release anyway. Apparently, even Fede Alvarez wasn't quite convinced and said, we just ran out of time in post-production to get it right. Reflecting on it, I wasn't 100% happy with some of the shots where you could feel a bit more of the CGI intervention. So for people that reacted negatively, I don't blame them. Director's own words. So we fixed it. We made it better for the release right now. I convinced the studio that we needed to spend the money and make sure to give the companies that were involved in making it the proper time to finish it and do it right. He said it's now so much better since the character was always created through a mix of techniques. It meant recalibrating the various elements, both practical and digital, that brought Rook to life. The animatronic puppeteer Shane Mahan actually did this animatronic of Ian Holm based on a head cast of his from Lord of the Rings, and that was the only one in existence. Yeah. What we did was revert to a lot more of the puppet, the filmmaker says. It's way better. So
have you seen it yet?
No, but I haven't seen it yet. But it's that final comment that confuses the hell out of me to go, so you've gone back to the animatronic? So how did you then put that back in the film? Did you then refilm just the puppet on its own and CGI it into the film?
Let's say I feel like they kind of like put the puppet in, was like, that doesn't real enough, fucked with it, we got what we got, and now they're like,
no, that was worse.
Back a bit. Yeah, I did. I mean, listen, fair play to Alvarez as well for actually just putting his hands up and stepping into the spotlight, do you know what I mean? Because like not a lot of people will actually do that these days. I like I said, I've not seen, I mean, it did drop on streaming this week, I just haven't had a chance to go back and watch it. We'll see. I mean, look, that was what, as much as like I enjoyed Romulus when we talked about it, I totally agree. I said there was no excuse for that part. It totally snapped me out of the movie when I was watching it.
Yeah.
I don't know whether them fixing it will be different for me, because next time I watch it, I'm still gonna be like, here it comes. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know if it's like, oh, it looks a bit better, but I'm like, It could have just been his voice on a screen.
Yeah.
Like, it could...
You could have just had a static, like, flickering image of his face on the screen.
Because I did see... I think I saw it on social media where it was like... that. Yeah, I remember them showing the... I think it was actually from The Hobbit, is when they show him in The Hobbit. Because even though it's... They show, like, another version of him, I think.
Okay.
But, it's from The Lord of the Rings, obviously, when he's Bilbo. And I saw them talking about it, and I was like, you could... When they showed the rendering, and it was just... like a shadow version of his face. I'm like, that could have been on a screen, all blacked out and covered in shadow to hide everything, and it could have just been his voice, and that would have been way less egregious, personally.
So, as far as I'm concerned, this tiny little fix is a band-aid on a gushing open wound that... it's no saving the film, I'm sorry, Fetty. Like, you can fix that all you want. There's some other problems that you just can't fix, so...
Fair one.
We'll see. But anyway, we've got some quick fire news. Small 28 years later update, as we keep reporting on this, but now it's been confirmed that Cillian Murphy is not in the first film of the trilogy, and as a matter of fact, we already know that the second film has been completed, and they still haven't shot anything with Cillian Murphy yet. So they are hopeful that he'll be involved more in the third film. And I'm like, well, that's the only one you got left, so...
He's shooting Peaky Blinders at the minute.
That's
right.
Yeah. So I don't know how that's impacted the character of Jim that he was supposed to, or we imagined he was going to reprise. Yeah. But we may not actually get a continuation of his story in this new trilogy at all.
Just be good.
Just be good. It'll be fine. Yeah. Sony Pictures has announced more video games getting the big screen adaptation and/or animated shows, including The Ghost of Tsushima, Helldivers, and Horizon Zero Dawn. Helldivers film I'm quite happy about. Like, hopefully we'll get the Starship Troopers
easy
sequel
is that to make?
we've always wanted. So, give me that, please. It's been confirmed that Jason Momoa will, in fact, now be playing Lobo in the new DC series of films.
Yeah.
His first appearance will be in Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
That makes sense. It'd probably be... Do you know what? It's ironic. Is like, in a way, he could, as much as you got those interests, that he's got to do some work to be Lobo. But when we talked about like Aquaman 2, where it's like he's just being like a bit of a bro. It's like bring that energy into the character, and it'll probably be all right. Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. Unfortunately, though, the Batman Part 2 has been delayed again.
We're getting Return to Derry before we get this.
We will.
Jesus.
Batman Part 2 is now slated for a 1st of October 2027 release. That will be a 5.5-year wait between films. Now, this is apparently, though...
Batman Beyond by the time.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you hired him young, right? You wanted a young Batman so you could use him throughout the years. But...
yeah, man.
But apparently, it's not studios, it's not James Gunn, it's not the DC shakeup. It's Matt Reeves, the writer-director, cannot finish his script. He said he just can't do it. James Gunn came out and said Matt is committed to making the best film he possibly can, and no one can accurately guess exactly how long the script will take to write. Once there's a finished script, there'll then be 2 years of pre-production, shooting, and post-production, as is the case on big films. So that's why they're saying it's going to be this far back, because no script, we don't know.
I mean, it's confirmed as elsewhere. He has done that, so it's like it doesn't affect the upcoming universe. So I'm guessing don't release it if it's not done. So
exactly,
fair enough. But it's pretty fucking crazy, isn't it?
Yep. Alrighty, it's a bit of a non-news story. This one.
No, this is good news.
But it is good news, exactly. Coralie Fargeet has teased that she's working on her next film, her third film, and that it's not a Substance sequel, which everyone is kind of wondering whether there would be, because of the success of it. But Coralie has said, for now, I'm not discussing anything. I'm just enjoying the moment and taking some time as I really want to write my next project. It's slowly starting to be put into motion in the back of my brain, and when things calm down, I'll take it from there. It's going to be totally different than The Substance, with a lot of similarities, though. I love to make bold and surprising films with things that you don't expect.
No shit.
Right? So definitely that's what I want to do, and I love the freedom that I gave myself on Substance, and that's certainly something I want to keep doing.
Was her first movie Revenge?
I think so, yeah.
I haven't watched that because I want... it's a rape revenge movie in it, so I'm not going to...
It's not a rush to see that.
I'm not going to watch
it. Yeah. Very happy that it's not just going to be like, oh, cash cow, let's do Substance 2 now.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's good. Okay, one last bit of film news. A new Mummy movie. We were just talking about other Universal monsters. The Mummy is now in pre-production with Lee Cronin, the director of Evil Dead Rise, in the director's chair for this Mummy film. Lee Cronin said to the Hollywood Reporter that this will be unlike any Mummy movie you ever laid eyeballs on before. I'm digging deep into the earth to raise something very ancient and very frightening.
Good.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Is this going to be an R-rated horror movie?
I didn't get.
It's not going to be
more than 35, 40 minutes into that Tom Cruise piece of shit. I turned that one off.
Yeah, same. I never finished that one either. So I'm hoping for a really good horror movie here.
Yeah, man.
All right, I got one trailer to very quickly talk about. Probably one of the best trailers I've seen in a little while. Marvel's Television's Daredevil Born Again. The official trailer just dropped on YouTube, and I am very excited. From seeing all of the cast reprise their roles, it feeling like a season 4 of Daredevil. The way the trailer was put together was slick. It was promising. It had moments that made you go, ooh! The music, it was the Daredevil theme being played on a church organ that just gave the whole trailer this tone, this atmosphere, and this excitement to actually see this story continue. Have you seen the trailer?
Nope.
Ah,
I'm going to watch it. It's got my money.
It's already got it. Yes,
I need to.
Yeah.
Oh, I did see. I think I posted it on the Discord earlier. Is that picture where it's him and he's looking at all the different masks and he's like, "How do I know which color it is?"
Yeah. How does he know which mood or vibe he's going for? I don't know, but yeah, very excited.
But yeah, the fact that they brought, it's like it's picking up from the Netflix one. I'm like,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, hell yeah. Alrighty, well, that's going to bring us to the end of this segment of the podcast. We're going to take a small break, but when we come back, Andy and I are going to be counting down our top 10 picks of 2024.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to part 2 of the podcast where Andy and I...
Flawless.
are going to be counting down our best picks of 2024. But before that, we do, of course, have a short list of honourable mentions. Andy?
These may cross over back and forth, to be honest. So, do you want to do your honourable mentions first?
Sure.
And then
Okay, yep.
I'll do
so yeah, if you hear this, it means it didn't sadly make it onto my top 10, and the first one being Terrifier 3. Oh, it very nearly did. Only because I just wanted to wind up Ian just a little bit.
Yeah, we're both going to put it as a number 1, and then 2, 3, 4, or 5 are all going to be Romulus.
Right. But Terrifier 3, it was still a very enjoyable.
It's a Terrifier, wasn't it?
It was a Terrifier. You knew exactly, it's the third one. It's almost the fourth one, and so you know what you're getting. You're just getting splatter horror. It's Splatterhouse, the movie, sold. So yeah, good fun. Maxine, I preferred Pearl. Maxine was still solid third entry. Longlegs, it just bumped off my 10. I feel like I'm the only one that liked it. Like everyone I've spoken to really hated it.
The two of us, yeah, but still, fair play.
I still really liked the filmmaking and the atmosphere in that film. It was really, really creepy. Heretic, again, another one, honorable mention, short list. It was a good year for horror last year, and The Heretic really was a refreshing, interesting story, and I liked how there was a good conflict of religious beliefs being questioned, and the fact that those that wrote the script or were in the film knew what they were talking about, so it made it seem a lot smarter and more interesting as well.
I'm gutted I didn't get a chance to see it before this.
Yeah.
So it doesn't factor into mine, unfortunately.
That is unfortunate. But again, you got this year. Definitely check it out, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Be interested to see what you think in another podcast. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. It didn't have the emotional core of Afterlife, but it was still a very entertaining film. I've watched it twice now, and it's a film that I could easily watch again. It's just good fun. It really is. Helldivers 2, the video game on my list. It's a game I put quite a few hours into. I didn't expect to, because I was the one like, no, I'm waiting for Starship Troopers. That's going to be the one. Like, Helldivers is just an imitator. And, well, it turns out Helldivers 2 was the better game after all. And it's now getting its own movie franchise as well. So, yeah, it's still good fun. And it's a game that I still have installed. Oddity. It's the bizarre film about the blind lady that goes to avenge her murdered sister. It's one of those horror movies that take place in one location with a very minimal cast.
We like those.
So yeah, definitely worthy of an honorable mention. Smile 2. I really enjoyed this one. Again, good year for horror. I really wanted to put this on my top 10. I really did, but it was a good year. And so I enjoyed Smile 2 a lot more than the first one, and I really can't wait for the third. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Again, highly entertaining from start to finish. It was a bit long, but for me, I really enjoyed the cast. I quite liked the story, even though it may not have made sense and they may have gone round in circles and burnt so much gasoline that they didn't really have to burn. For me, it was a real action spectacle, and I just want more from this universe.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. The First Omen. I was fully willing to just ignore this film until you gave it a glowing review. And I was like, holy shit, that was really good. Like a prequel. That's good. A prequel where you know where it's going. But yeah, very, very good storytelling, good characters. And it was, the supernatural elements as it creeped in and got darker and darker. And you're like, oh, wow. Yeah, so yeah, if you skipped on this one like I did, it's definitely worth a watch.
100%.
This one here, Poor Things. This is one of those art house films that's going to be challenging to watch. There's a lot of awkward sex. There's a lot of sex stuff in it. With a character that has almost the mind of a child, so it's some challenging stuff in there. But I was disturbed and intrigued.
Emma Stone.
Emma Stone, yes, yeah. I've really grown to like her in all of her films as well. So yeah, again with Poor Things, I'm not sure if it was last year or the year before. It's one of those films that kind of got staggered releases. So anyway, it's on my honorable list. And my last honorable mention is I saw the TV Glow. Again, this was on my 10, and it was only after some sort of refinement earlier this afternoon that it just bumped back off the top 10 list. I saw the TV Glow. It was one of those stories that it's a slow burn, but it has the intrigue. And if you were raised by the television set, if you were raised by some of your favorite TV shows, like for me, like when I watch this and the characters in the film talk about the TV show for them in the movie, for me, I'm thinking back to like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Supernatural and some of those other shows that you kind of grow attached to, that they become your family, your friends. And that's the case for the characters in this story, that they're trying to find themselves and they relate to these characters in the TV show. And then the kind of supernatural mystery around that show and its disappearance. But it's a show about finding your own sexuality as well. The film was made by a transgender, and they incorporated their journey, I suppose, metaphorically through the film as well. It was a fascinating film. Of course, I mean, I was sold on the like magenta, pink, purple, like imagery of the poster because that color is like the color out of space. It's that Lovecraftian vibe. And so, yeah, the film has a haunting, surreal nature around it with some really good performances as well. So, yeah, it's be taking a gamble with if you choose to watch it. You might love it like I did, or it might be like, this is just too fucking weird and boring, and you might just tap out. But very interesting film, definitely worthy of the consideration of top 10.
Nice. So my honourable mentions before I do my number 10, I'll break this down as well. So games, I'm cheating. It's not from this year, but I first got to play it, so that's why.
Okay.
Ghost of Tsushima. I got the PS5 version of it. I put 70 hours into that game. Finished it, and they announced a sequel, and I was like, yes,
nice.
Love being late to the party sometimes. The Indiana Jones and the Great Circle we've already talked about, and WWE 2K24. It's got everything wrong with it that all 2K24 games have, but still have a good time. TV wise, a couple of Ryan Murphy series that I do have to shout out. Grotesquerie, which is really good, right up to episode 7, where it shits the bed and dropped out of my top 10.
Ooh.
Monsters 2, the Menendez brothers case. So he did the Dahmer one, Monster.
Okay,
and then this is based on them.
I didn't realize it was the same people that made it. Okay.
Yeah, and obviously he does like American Horror Story and stuff like that, doesn't he?
Yes, yeah.
Fallout, probably one of, if not the best adaptation of a video game that we've had, certainly in a series. Eric, which was Benedict Cumberbatch in the movie.
Yes, yeah, I forgot about that one.
That was good. It maybe was a little bit too long. and kind of like steam wise went up and down, but still enjoyable.
It was the time period, the setting, and again, watching when you realize that the character you're following is a dick. Like,
he was so flawed.
Yeah.
Batman the Caped Crusader, which is an animated version, very much in the vein of the old animated series. A good success. Nice. That was fun. The Gentleman, which is the series based on the Guy Ritchie movie. It's like 8-episode arc. It should have been 5 episodes. Guy Ritchie, I always said, great character writer, not so much story.
Yeah.
It's definitely his weakness. So, but it was still entertaining. Secret Level, we've already talked about it.
Yeah.
Only Murders in the Building, season 4. Me and the wife love watching. That's definitely one of our shows, and it just, again, it shouldn't keep being this good, and it is. The Boys season 4, enjoyed it. We're definitely on the downswing in comparison to the other seasons.
Agreed.
But
it didn't get on my list this year.
And it wouldn't go on my top 10, but it was still. It did. Oh, can't wait for the next one though.
Yeah, final season.
I'm looking forward to the finale.
It was a big build up for the final season now. Yeah.
Film wise, Terrifier 3. We spoke about it. Spaceman. Surprisingly, I enjoyed it. I know. I'm sorry, but I enjoyed it. Wonka. I took the girls to see it. We had a good time. It was a good, fun family movie. You know, Ricky Stenicki. If I like my gross out comedy, it's the John Cena and what's his name? Oh, for God's sake! From fucking High School Musical and Baywatch and
Hasselhoff.
No, the new one. Anyway, it's a good comedy. Ghostbusters: Frozen Kingdom. Exactly.
Empire.
Exactly what you said. If it was more like Afterlife, it probably would have ended up on 10, and someone else sat next to us would have been giving a shit.
It still is.
The remake of Salem's Lot.
Okay.
Was surprisingly okay. Now I'm not like a Zac Efron. Thank you. It was Zac Efron and Ricky Stenicki. I'm not like I can't remember the last time I watched the original Salem's Lot, to be honest.
I'm still terrified of Barlow the Vampire from that original.
Totally. But this was a watch on a Sunday family horror movie. Now, yes. I appreciate that some fans of the original might be like, no, we wanted it this way. That's fine. But me just watching it from that point of view, we had a good time with it.
I honestly, I fell asleep and I've not finished watching it yet.
No.
It
definitely had like vibes of...
It lost... It lost its momentum, and for me, I'm surprised at that because how short of a film it is.
Yeah, it is short. Yeah.
Considering the miniseries, which is the original.
That kid in it.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Like, I'm 11 and a half. What are you doing? I'm killing vampires. I'm the only kid who knows what's going on. I'm like, yeah, kid, you get yourself some.
Yeah, I liked, because obviously for me, the original film, one of the most haunting images in all of horror is the kid floating outside the window in the fog, gently rapping on the window. And this remake, they did it okay, but I feel like they rushed through it in this.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Yeah. But again, like just a bit of fun on a Sunday afternoon with a kid, and that was good.
I might give it a rewatch actually.
Yeah, definitely. Fall Guy, which was the stuntman movie with
Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. I've not seen it yet. It's been on my watch list all year.
A bit of fun, yeah. And I'm not a big Ryan Gosling fan either, but this was all right. As in, I'm kind of like, do less, and he did. Hitman as well, same vein. Again,
I enjoyed that.
I feel like Glenn Powell is being shoved down everyone's throats at the minute.
I don't mind,
because all I hear is like, Glenn Powell should be Batman, and I'm like, you need to calm the fuck down.
Maybe not. I liked him in Twisters as well.
Yeah, I didn't like that movie. But this one's all right. Yeah, Hitman was good. And then a couple of documentaries, wrestling based. Roman Reigns, the A&E biography was really good to see that, and I think it's like gives us a bit more appreciation to the work that he put into that run.
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt becoming legendary. Fucking, we talked about it. What can I say? It was incredible.
Even though I missed all of his like wrestling storyline, I still know who he is.
Absolutely. And that's again point of a good documentary, right?
Yeah.
And Who Killed WCW as well, which is like really funny to watch because it's just basically everyone blaming everyone else.
Right. That's the thing. They were all to blame.
And then just before I do my set, my sort of most honourable mentions, and these three, I got one series and two films that teetered in and out of my top 10. X-Men 97. As a kid, there was nothing I loved more. It was Saturday morning. I'm going to go downstairs. I've got a big-ass bowl of cereal. I'm jumping between whatever's on one, like Going Live or Live in King, whatever the frig it's called, onto channel 3, because one of them's going to have Batman, one of them's going to have X-Men, one of them's going to have Ninja Turtles, and you were back and forth all Saturday. I feel terrible for kids that don't get to experience this most wonderful tradition on a Saturday morning. And X-Men 97 really took me back to that with the animation. Great story, amped it up a little bit as well. Really, really impressed. Hope they do some more of it. Guy Ritchie film that actually nearly hit my list, which the first time was Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Okay, yeah.
Great fun, wonderful characters. Henry Cavill somehow managing to cosplay as a commissar from 40K in a World War II movie was not lost on me. Following the story of Ian Fleming.
Okay.
I think Inglourious Bastards, basically, that kind of dramatization. The only thing that really took it out was like the secondary sort of like storyline with like the woman and stuff. I was like, well, we really didn't need this. Get them more on screen. Yeah. Richardson was freaking hilarious in that movie as the Swedish.
I'm gonna have to give this a watch because when I see Guy Ritchie, I'm like, pass.
Days. I mean, listen, I'm so hit and miss with it. Like that Operation Fortune was utter dreck, and I couldn't stand it. But this one, I gotta admit,
okay,
it was fun. Look, it's Henry Cavill and Alan Ritchson. It's like they're so charming. The guy playing Churchill was great as well. I forgot his name. Is it Roy? He played all the characters in Men.
Oh right, yes, that guy. Yeah.
He's in like Bank of Dave.
Yeah,
he plays Churchill and he's great. And then the last one, just to boil everyone's piss, is Alien Romulus. So I enjoyed it. Listen, we've talked about it loads. I still really enjoyed the movie, but again, in all seriousness, we talked about it earlier. I've not rewatched it. So I've only seen it the once.
Yeah.
It's funny, we were talking, I think before we started, we said like it's that kind of thing was like when you rewatch it, I said like I could go either way, I guess, sort of like enjoying it. But my one experience of it, as much as I'll totally admit the problems that it had, like we talked about fucking CGI earlier. The member berries were so much. But that being said, the action sequences in it were phenomenal. The facehuggers have never been better, in my opinion.
Agree.
The young British cast was great. The expansion of Wayland Yutani I really enjoyed. I can take or leave the fourth act. I listen. I guess I'm just accepting that we're stuck with the black goo. We're just stuck with it. It's part of the fucking universe now.
Although I
think it would like I don't want it to be
Alien. If Alien Earth has the black goo, I'm going to lose my shit.
It was either you. I don't know which of you said. I remember one of you saying that if the writers just use the black goo as a how do we get out of this corner we've written ourselves into, that's bad. Now I don't think they did that in this. I just think they were more. We've got to include it somehow. It would have been so much better if when they go into the fucking stasis, the film ended there.
Yeah.
So you were left with okay, we've seen the black goo. If I can use it. It's in her. I wonder what's going to happen with it. Now, I still enjoyed that last act from a point of, wow, there's some nightmare fuel in it. You know, there's some really tense scenes. But yeah, I could have, if you'd have ended it there, I'd have been like, that's fine. That's totally cool. So I totally admit there's some problems with it. But you know what? I still had a good time with the movie. I'd like to see that.
I did.
Return and stuff, you know what I mean? No, I get it. Listen, I totally get the criticism. But that's the funny thing is like, listen, maybe that second viewing or multiple viewings might push it into my top 10. Maybe it will hammer home the reason why it's not in there. Do you know what I mean? It's a very strange film, but I'm certainly looking forward to like them bringing us some more. So that's my most honourable mentions. But my number 10,
nice. Yeah,
very quickly, we've already talked about it. Maybe it's a bit of recency bias, but my number 10 is the Superman Christopher Reeve story documentary.
Ah, nice.
Everything we said about it earlier.
Yeah, very moving.
It was wonderful, and again, maybe I'm biased because it's something the kid like cuddled up with me to watch.
Nice. Yeah,
I agree. And it was my favorite documentary of the year as well.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, you know, I also agree. My favorite documentary of the year. Christopher Reeve is my Superman. Always will be. Yeah, so it was a special film. Alrighty. Well, my number 10 is Masters of the Air. TV series developed by John Orloff. It stars Callum Turner, Anthony Boyle, and Austin Butler. And it's set during World War II, 5 miles above the ground, behind enemy lines, where 10 men inside an aluminum bomber known as the Flying Fortress battle anti-aircraft fire and unrelenting flocks of German fighters. This was incredible. It's the same team, you know, the Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg team that made Band of Brothers and The Pacific. And then these years later, they got back together for Masters of the Air. And it was... Yes, some of the CGI is still very, very noticeable, but the fact that they did also get some, you know, real, like, replica planes as well, like the costumes, the performances, like when the show was finished, I was like, all of the cast, I'm going to be seeing all of you for the rest of my life in film and TV. You're all what an incredible, like, sea of faces
Austin
that were
Butler's
all
in
new.
everything.
He is, exactly. Like, I mean, like,
He was
yeah,
in the
like,
Bike
he
Riders
was in,
last year
like,
as Elvis.
yeah,
He was in
Dune 2.
Yeah.
He's been cast at the moment as Patrick Bateman in Psycho remake.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Yeah. Although I think the author of the book just went, no, I still can't see it. I still don't believe he's going to be playing Patrick Bateman. Maybe he'll play one of the other parts, but he's been cast. So, but yeah, like all of the actors in it, I think were incredible. It was also like during. No, there are some like slower paced episodes, especially when like some of the episodes in the middle are some of the most tense I've been in watching television this year. Like, I mentioned like 10 people in a tin can dropping bombs, but like the pressure, the fear, the determination, the camaraderie, the stoicism that they show as well. Like that they have to have that stiff upper lip when they're watching their buddies die left, right, and center. When they're watching planes just go down, it's so tense and so visceral. The sound effects, the visuals, and being in the plane with them, like as the cameraman, as the plane's going down with some of them, like their final moments. It was like it was undescribable almost. So Masters of the Air really captured something special where I felt the Pacific did not. That was a show that took me several attempts to make it through to the end. Whereas Masters of the Air was really compelling viewing. So yeah, my number 10, Masters of the Air.
Nice, man. My number 9 is a horror movie. There's a theme. There's going to be a lot of horror movies on this list.
Awesome. It was a good year for horror.
And it's another one that I watched with a kid, and it's Late Night with the Devil.
Oh, nice. Yes.
So this was starring David Dastmalchian as a late night TV host who's kind of losing the ratings battle, as well as his wife, unfortunately, to cancer, and decides that he's going to show the first ever live possession on TV. So this is set in like the 70s. It's pitched as a mixture of actual footage from the time that you saw on the broadcast, and then it flips to like black and white, and you'll be seeing them talk off camera and stuff like that. This was a this is a movie that sort of like when I saw the premise I was really excited to watch. And sort of kind of is does really well. Again, one location.
Yes.
We're in one location, very small cast, just keeps delivering all the way through. We have like they bring on a someone who was a former psychic that's now like who goes out trying to disprove everything.
Yes.
Skeptic, who was the guy who played the guy that Agent Smith goes into in the Matrix.
Yes.
Yeah. Bane, I think his name was in the Matrix movies, but and they bring on like this guy, very sort of like Reagan-esque from Exorcist, who's been possessed by a demon, and her sort of like handler and such. And
yeah.
I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's not seen it, but obviously like all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. A few people were very critical of the end of that film, but I felt it ended the way it needed to.
I was quite critical
of
the end of it, and on a sort of rewatch, I was like, do you know what? Actually, I think this, it was better the second time viewing, because I felt quite jarred by the end. I was the way we're going to leave it, but like I at first I kind of almost felt like it shit on its own premise, and then when I went back I was like, no, actually I was too harsh on it. Yeah, brilliant, lovely to see David Dastmalchian in a leading role as well. If you don't know that, he was Polka Dot Man in the Suicide Squad, the good one. Definitely worth checking out. I think you can watch it on Shudder. So that was my
nice.
Late Night with the Devil.
Nice, very good. Well, my number 9 is also horror. I think this is the only video game I've got in my top 10 of the year.
I've only got one as well. Yeah.
And if you've been following along, you probably know what game this is going to be. It came out just the day before my birthday. It's Silent Hill 2. It's Bloober Team that developed this one. It released on PlayStation 5 and PC, and it's the remake of the original 2001 game by Team Silent. This was a game that I'd been nervous about ever since they announced it. They announced that it was Bloober Team behind it. And in the years up to that point, there was a lot of, like, in the fandom that I was surrounded by online around Silent Hill, there was a lot of talk about that maybe Team Bloober should be the team to do it. But there was also a lot of pushback from Silent Hill fans as well, saying, no, Team Bloober do not understand psychological horror and trauma and these things. They write about it, they have characters that deal with it, but they do not understand it, they don't get it. So no, please do not write something that is so sacred to the horror fans, like Silent Hill fans. But honestly, Team Bloober absolutely nailed it. It is a companion piece as well to Silent Hill 2, as well as being a remake. They've incorporated some extra little things here and there that as a puritist, you might be like, no, like, don't touch it. We shouldn't have remade it in the first place. But they added to it. They added in. They answered some rumors and some theories that have been going on for 20 years about that game and stirred the pot a little bit. But they didn't destroy it. They honored it. They understood the assignment. And yeah, there's still some criticisms about the combat and the fighting, but hey, that's been there in every Silent Hill game. There's been criticisms about the combat. Maybe there was too much of it in this remake, but I felt after 4 playthroughs of the game that the combat was fine. It was annoying how, for me, in the original games, you could run past the enemies and get away from them. The enemies in the original games did not open doors and follow you. They do in this remake, and it's absolute. I'm like, I know this area. I'm just going to run right through it. I was like, oh, I missed something. I'm going to backtrack, and then there's 4 enemies burst in the door behind me. I'm like, I'm in trouble. Mistakes were made. Yes, but the graphics, incredible. That was the thing I really wanted to see, was the town of Silent Hill with modern graphic settings, and 4K resolution with modern textures. Seeing that fog and seeing the monsters come out of the fog, incredible. One of the most atmospheric games I've ever played. Really, really nailed that. The voice acting department, though, is the weak point.
Really? Okay.
I adore the voice actors in the original game. None of them were really voice actors. They were people that Team Silent felt resembled the characters that they wanted. And so there was a real sort of, I don't know, like, I don't want to say a human level, a more realistic approach, more authentic approach, whereas the remake has voice actors doing a part, like they're playing the part. But they do it well, I will say. And there are moments where I prefer the original over the remake, and a few instances where I really like what they did in the remake. So I think it does work as a companion piece, doesn't replace it, so to speak. So yeah, like, hats off to Team Bloober. Give me Silent Hill 1 and 3 and 4, please. And because, I don't just want remakes, try it.
Silent Hill.
Do a new one.
That would be cool, man. I'm going to get around to watching Silent Hill, playing that one this year, to be honest.
Nice.
Cool. So my number 8 is... We're on 8? Yes. My number 8 is my best video game of the year, and it's Space Marine 2.
Ah, nice.
So this is the sequel to the 2011 third-person shooter. Picks up with Captain Typhus about 200 years since he's been sentenced to the Death Watch as a black shield for resisting chaos somehow. Typhus indoctrinated back into the Ultramarines and put through the Primaris process in order to serve the Emperor again in a battle against the Tyranids and the forces of chaos. As a 40k fan, it's actually not hard to, get it right, in my opinion, because it's like, just make it look like 40k. It's all out there, and they were like, yeah, that's what we're going to do. The campaign, I played co-op with a friend of mine. It's not a long campaign. It's only like a sort of 10-hour campaign. But it's captivating from start to finish. We were just stopping. We probably took 12 hours because we were just stopping like, dude, look at that. Look at this. Look at this over here. There's 10,000 Tyranids just flooding over there in the background, all moving individually. And oh my God, I can shoot them. It was, it captures everything about the universe, from the sound that every individual gun makes to the way that they're all that they individually fire and work, to all of the sayings that the Space Marines use, all the way through that you've read through all of the different books. It's got a fantastic PvE campaign where you play through different operations that actually ties into the main campaign. It's actually you're introduced to other teams that are going off completing these, and that's what you do. One of the best. Okay, I mean, so also the combat is, it's stellar. We talked about the weapons, but the melee and the shooting are so satisfying when you're tearing through these Tyranid hordes, or tearing into the Chaos minions and just popping them like blisters with your bolt rifle, and then having to fight the bigger the executions on it, man, are just sort of vindictive to a point. You're like talking like ripping guys open in half, blood spraying everywhere.
It's what because I've not played it. I'm definitely a game I'll probably pick up this year. But it was something that always annoyed me with like the last two Doom games. Is as visceral and gory as they were, ripping up demons. It was when all these colorful pickups just popped out of the demons.
Yeah,
that was like, it's kind of funky, but that's Doom. But
Yeah.
when I saw that kind of thing happening in Space Marine 2, I was like, yeah, okay,
And they got rid of the shitty, shaky camera work that they used in the first one. I didn't like the first one because you go wandering into these orcs and start plowing through, and the camera would just go everywhere, and you'd be like, I don't really get to see this, you know.
Right,
but,
you're right.
You know, so you've got there is a PvP version as well. I'm not really into it. I've got to admit, I think that is the weakest part of it. For me, the operations, playing that in co-op on like the higher difficulties is absolutely phenomenal, you know, and like you get to go between your different classes. Like one of you might just be like a tactical marine, the other one's got a jump pack and a fucking thunder hammer, just coming down, rocking that, you know. And then, I mean, the amount of times I've spent walking around as like the heavy with like a massive, great big heavy bolt or a multi-metal, just fucking laying waste to like maps. But the best thing about it, honestly, has been this is a lot of things that we've complained about is the rollout of a lot of games coming out unfinished, games having no support. This has been one of the best rollouts I've seen of a game in a long time, where the game got dropped, it was done, great. Then they were like, right, if you can buy a season pass, it's just cosmetic.
Sure,
that's all the season pass is going to be. Everything else, from adding 2 additional PvE missions that they've already done, upgrades to different new weapons, upgrades to everything, is all come out for free. They've released a roadmap of this year, what they're going to do, including a horde mode.
Oh.
And again, there's so many companies that could have gone with like, oh, you know, we should do this mode. It's like, should we package it? Now we'll release it as DLC down the line, but they got to pay for it. I appreciate that they're like, you know what, we're going to work on it so when it comes out, it's better. But we're not going to charge you for it. It's just going to land. So it's, and again, maybe that stands to reason of like, you know, again, Games Workshop pulling all the stuff and go, we're not sending shit out into the universe now.
Something I like Helldivers has done as well. They've been releasing content non-stop since it released. New alien factions, new weapons, new skin. I mean, yeah, there's cosmetics, but that's the microtransactions is just cosmetics essentially.
Yeah, I don't mind microtransactions. I say it's just when they sort of like fleece you for stuff that you really should have got with your actual
with the game. Yeah,
with the game. Yeah. So Space Marine 2. Big win. I was nervous, but I was really happy when we finally got to play it. I was like, this is exactly what we wanted.
Nice.
Best game. Still playing it now.
Nice. Yeah. I definitely will experience that for myself this year, for 100%. Sure. Alrighty, my number 8. Now this is maybe a point of contention. I'm not exactly sure when this film released because of lockdown, pandemics, and when it's like these smaller like independent movies don't, you know, get big releases at all. But again, this was another one that went under my radar completely until it was recommended to me. And so my number 8 is Strange Darling. It's from writer-director J.T. Moller, and it stars Willa Fitzgerald, Kyle Gallner from Dinner in America, and Madison Beatty. The synopsis reads that nothing is what it seems when a twisted one-night stand spirals into a serial killer's vicious murder spree. So the film begins with these two characters discussing their one night that they're going to have, and but the film drops these clues and these hints as to who these two people are. And it also tells it from different perspectives and jumps time as well. So you're seeing it from different perspectives in time. Cool. And each sequence you're then watching, after some revelations, you then see the next sequence and go, but my perspective's now completely changed because new shit has come to light, man. And it was incredible. The performances and the beat downs and the beatings and the hell that these two put each other through. So I don't really want to say anymore because it's one of those where I'm like, you have to see the twists and the turns that this film throws at you. And you might be like me as well and go, I want to see more of those two actors because they left an impression, so much so that whatever year this film came out on, it's going on my best of what I watched last year. Number 8, Strange Darling.
Nice. I like it. I'll check that one out. So my number 7, bit random, but it is part of media, I guess, is WrestleMania 40. So obviously, we've been living through a much better sort of like time as wrestling fans with Triple H taking over the booking, and the big story that we've really been building towards was sort of like Cody finishing the story, much like W2K24. We did the story in there. As he lost last year. So this 2-night event, obviously it's 40 years, man, that this event has been going. It's like nearly as old as I am, for God's sake. They put on, honestly, one of the best sort of like wrestling shows I've ever seen across these 2 nights. Now, it wasn't perfect. Don't get me wrong, there were a couple of duds. There was literally a dud on each night. You had like the Uso brothers match, which unfortunately just everyone thought was going to be really good and really tanked. And then I think there was a street fight on the second night, which was Final Testament and the Pride, which just wasn't a good match. They didn't really give it a lot of time. It was kind of throwaway match, so it wasn't perfect. But we had the brilliant build-up of Cody winning the Rumble and then kind of giving away his title shot to The Rock, and then everyone going, "This is bullshit," and The Rock making the decision of his own free will, mind. Dwayne Johnson was like, they released a whole documentary about this because that man's ego is not fragile at all. To say, no, this was my decision. The fans wanted it. But the positives are we then got the final boss character at The Rock, which is his best character work of his career, this final boss character, which is why I was so pissed on Netflix when it went away.
Yeah.
For them to then set up the tag match of night 1, which was going to determine the night 2 stipulation, which you met. Okay, so we know that Cody's going to lose, so we can go into this one as a no DQ match. But what that meant was that the main event of the second night was the most sports entertainment match possibly of all time. This was completely overbooked in the best way possible. It was run-ins from everyone who had been involved in the feud. John Cena turned up when Solo and him had a match.
Yeah.
It's 9.9 out of 10. And I'd never say this normally, but when The Undertaker shows up to stop The Rock, it was amazing. And I popped huge because it was The Undertaker, but it should have been Stone Cold Steve Austin. We should have heard the glass break, and it would have been amazing. But, it was still cool that it was Taker. But overall, that was a 2-night event that was like, you know what? For the first time, this feels like we did some long-term booking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bumpy road. Don't get me wrong. They had to roll the punches and sort of like come back and, sort of full circle to get there. But this was the first time in a long time that felt like, do you know what? We finally fucking told a story from start to finish that wasn't just, again, some crazy old man just getting pissed because his steak wasn't cooked right that day and fucking putting stuff on the fire. All right?
Yeah.
As a wrestling fan, I was very grateful for that pay-per-view. And again, hopefully, look, we're not far from, we're on the road to WrestleMania as of the next couple of weeks. So
that's right, yeah.
Let's hope that
Rumble's going to come around quick.
That's how it starts, man. That's how it starts. So yeah, number 7, WrestleMania 40.
Nice.
Absolutely brilliant.
My number 7 is Dune Part 2 from writer-director Denis Villeneuve. Stars Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, and Rebecca Ferguson. And of course, it continues to tell the story of Paul Atreides as he unites the Freeman whilst on a warpath of revenge against the conspirators who destroyed his family. Facing a choice between the love of his life and the fate of the universe, he endeavors to prevent a terrible future. Man, this film was spectacle.
I still haven't watched it. What? I was a big fan of the first one. And my buddy Foey said I just go out Dune 2. I was like, what's that? It's fucking boring. It's 3 hours of people just staring at each other. I was like, okay.
Let's see the sandworms.
I did. Sorry,
did you feel the earthquake?
It doesn't matter because it's on your list. That's the main thing. So, no, you tell us. Like I said, I've not seen it. For all I know, it is amazing. I just I wasn't a big.
It is the unfilmable, like Dune is not an easy adaptation. And the way that they've been able to tell what has come across as a coherent storyline, over 2 parts now. And this was an event movie. The hype building up to it, this film delivered. The sound design, the imagery, Actually seeing those sandworms in motion, him going out, I mean, spoiler, sorry, but at this point it's too late, but him going out there and taming and riding a sandworm was one of, if not the most amazing cinematic experience I saw in the cinema last year. It was incredible.
He rides a sandworm.
Yes.
Like in Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just... I absolutely loved it. It was just brilliant. And of course, what's his face? Butler guy from Austin Butler. Great villain. Really, really played that up well. And so he actually made me interested in these characters. And so, there is a lot of talking and there is a lot of walking around the desert, like drinking their own sweat.
Nice.
I was really drawn into this universe and this story, and it's going to be sad that after a part 3 that's it, but I think that should be it, because the books go way out there, like beyond the Dune spice stories
right now as well, isn't there?
There is, which I didn't actually watch.
No, I just keep seeing the fucking advert for it constantly.
But I've also heard,
because I remember when we first talked about Dune 1, even though they hadn't confirmed even a Dune 2 at the time, so have they confirmed Dune 3 now? They're all
he said he'll come back to do a Dune.
Did he say he's taking a break?
He is, and he's also said that after 3 he's done. He's like, I've got to leave, I've got to leave the spice alone.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ.
Dune Part 2 really was incredible.
I know how much you love the Dune universe and how much you love the first, so I'm glad that this one made it.
It delivered.
Disappointed. Don't get me wrong. Listen, it's no fucking sweat off my back. So it's. I also understand that you enjoyed it.
I mean, I also understand that like Dune in it of itself is not, it's not. I don't think for a mass market sort of consumption, which is why I was so surprised that like a big budget Dune was going ahead, and I was also then, just really happy to see that like an audience took to it. So much so that we did get follow up in the second.
Zendaya's in it. That's why.
You're probably right. Yeah. But that was my number 7, Dune Part 2.
No, that's good.
Number 6, Andy.
Timothy Chalamet's had a fucking year, isn't he? My number 6 is a series. I gotta admit, I was shocked at how good this was, and I think you're probably going to say the same thing. And it's The Penguin.
Ah, nice. Yes. It might actually be on my list.
Do you know what? Yeah, man, it's like,
but it's higher.
Do you know what? I never would have thought that it would be, that you'd have enjoyed it. It was much, but
really good.
We talked about this, I think, in the last episode. But it's the HBO show following Oz after the events of the Batman movie, as he navigates the Gotham underworld and plays the Maroni and Falcone crime families off against each other.
Yeah.
Colin Farrell, man, just. We'll talk about another similar performance probably, because I know that there's going to be another film in this. Disappears. Colin Farrell disappears.
Yeah.
Into this character.
You can't see him in it at all.
No, it's amazing. There was a clip online of him when he like rapped, and he's in the full outfit. He's actually wearing the outfit from like the animated series, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just Colin Farrell talking, and you're like, God, that's fucking jarring. Because he really does become this character.
I don't think I want to see him talk as Colin Farrell and make it. It'll ruin the spell.
In the Batman, and I did like him in the Batman. This is a whole nother level. I mean,
yeah.
No, but the thing is the reason that it's so good is like the entire cast is absolutely standout in this to me.
I just
Kristen Miletti is Sophia.
Yes, I just rewatched Palm Springs.
God, she's good.
And when I realised it was her in Palm Springs, I was like, I just saw you in The Penguin, and now I'm going to enjoy this even more.
The way they play on that character, the twist they have that comes off.
It's nuanced and layered, and you understand the motivations of each character, where they're coming from, and they're all villains.
Her development is amazing.
Yes, the way she was treated, you're just like, you start rooting for her when she comes.
Maybe the only good guy in the entire thing, with the exception of Vic.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, you've got
Clancy
Brown, obviously, Brown in it as well as Salvatore Maroni. Mark Strong taking over from the movie as Falcone in the flashback, stuff like that. The kid that plays Vic, I don't know his name, but he's spectacular in it. I mean, it's 8 episodes, and this isn't one that I'll say is too short or too long. This is spot on. Just the performance of the entire cast is amazing, but just the constant talk your way out of it that Oz manages to get away with. Each episode, you're like, how the fuck does he keep doing this? And I love the fact that there's nothing redeeming about him whatsoever. You get kind of suckered in a tiny bit because of the way he takes Vic on in the first
And the way he
episode,
treats his mum,
and the way
and
he
his
treats
love
his
for his
mother,
mum.
and then the way it goes through when it reveals his background with his siblings and everything, and then the fact that even like come the end, he won't even save his mum by saying what he's done wrong, which is an amazing but
True to his
brutal
character.
scene,
So yeah,
when there's the bomb at his he doesn't warn anyone. He just leaves. He doesn't even. He hasn't even got the fucking gumption to fucking warn his own guys that that's going to happen. He just betrays everyone. And that last speech that he gives to spoilers, by the way, the last speech that he gives to Vic before he does it, just it, family makes you weak.
Yeah,
And no emotion as he does it.
Yeah,
is
and it just goes to show that's what he needs to be.
I think that they're setting Theo Rossi up. Everyone seems to think that he's set up to be Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Which seems about right.
Okay.
And I think that what they're going to do is that drug that he's manufactured with the mushrooms is going to be his fear toxin.
Right.
In either the next series or maybe into the movie or something. Yeah. Because I absolutely want them to blitz it into the movie.
Is there going to be a Penguin 2? Because it was made as a one-off, but it was so good. I'm also like, just leave it alone.
This is fucking why the Rogues Gallery of Batman is the best.
It's the best, yes. And it's just proving it again.
It's
yeah.
One of my top seasons. I think I said so. When I was really sick when I come back from Tenerife, and I spent the night on the sofa because the girls were in the bed upstairs because they were sick.
Yeah.
I watched the entire thing from start to finish.
I can happily say right now. Obviously, we've not got to where it is on my list yet, but The Penguin would have been my number one TV series of the year as well. But it lost out for me. It was for something else. The only reason why it lost out for me, and we'll get to that later, is that it wasn't original. It wasn't an original story. I mean, it was an original story. I mean, it's Penguin stories have been going on for how many decades?
Oh yeah,
so the Batman universe, it's like it's nothing new. It's the crime syndicate families being shitty to each other. Nothing new for me. But it was like I resisted watching it. So many times. I was like, I didn't even like the Batman. Why would I
sleeping on this one, dude?
Exactly. So thank you, everyone, Andy yourself included, for pushing me and not pressuring me, but nudging me towards it more and more. Because I'm so grateful. It was one of the best shows of the year, without a doubt.
Definitely.
Alrighty, so
your number 6.
My number 6. This one,
TV show.
It's another TV show. Yeah, this is the Fallout TV show. It was in your honorable mentions.
Yeah, I enjoyed this.
This starred Ella Purnell, Aaron Moten, and Walton Goggins in probably his career-defining role. I don't know.
Oh man, he kicks the shit out of it, doesn't he?
He really.
He never lets me down.
Yeah, ever. He's always good.
I watched Hateful Eight a couple of weeks ago, obviously around some year, and I'm like, God.
Ian and I reviewed Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses the other day, and Ian and I completely forgot that he was in it, and then we realized he's the cop who's held at gunpoint the entire time the camera pulls back. That's Walton Goggins! Couldn't believe it either. I was like, man, been loving this guy's work since before I even knew his name. And so, yeah, he just steals every single scene he's in the Fallout TV show. So much so, like, we need his own show. So I'm really looking forward to a part 2.
That opening scene with his daughter, the
nuke.
Like, if it's as big as your thumb, you're okay. He's like, Daddy,
it's bigger than my thumb.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was incredible. I was so glad to see, because when they announced it, it was like, oh, okay, like another TV show adaptation. It's gonna be shit.
I mean,
join the trend.
We were just coming off of Resident Evil, though.
Yes, yeah.
So
we're just done. Stop it. Yeah.
And it was Amazon. That's risky.
Yeah, Wheel of Time, Rings of Power, like, this is going to be terrible.
This was good.
But, yeah, all of us are surprised by how good it was. Like, the attention to detail. I mean, yeah, okay, some of the storytelling, you can break it down and go, it doesn't make sense. But I loved the characters. I loved the attention to the aesthetics of Fallout, the music choices, the pacing, the journey across, the landscape of Fallout. it gave me weird and wonderful and wacky characters and technology that I just a sucker for it.
I love that
And
they
I've
kept bringing it back to the vault as well, because they
Yes.
could have so easily abandoned the vault as soon as she left it and went into the wasteland.
but because the whole vault story gets pulled into the resolution as well, and I needed I was kind of, because at first I was like, why do we keep cutting back to the vault? I was like, you know what, I would happily watch Fallout shows just in the vault where they don't ever go to the
100%.
surface, because as we all know, vault
those are
tech,
the best parts of the game. Is
it's discovering a vault and seeing what experiment was going on in here. Yeah, so seeing it dramatized like this, because usually a lot of those vaults you just read in text files at the environmental.
Wasn't it? Where it's like, can we just have one that's all super mutants?
Yeah. Now, granted, there's like Mr. House is there, but some of the characterization's a little bit wrong, or some of the things, the timings are a bit off. And
Matt Berry, though.
Oh, Matt Berry, I love Matt Berry.
I haven't had
the robot.
a chance to watch the latest, or I suppose the last season of what.
I've just finished it.
Just
oh man, it was so sweet.
I
binged watched last year. I binge watched season 4, 5, and 6 because I was that far behind. And I ate it all up, and I'm so sad that show's done now. Man, that's got on my honorable mentions as well. Like what we do in the shadows. But yeah, Fallout TV show, my number 6, absolutely brilliant.
Can't wait for New Vegas and Death Claws.
Oh hell yes! Oh, God. Are they gonna do when's it set? Are they gonna do the New Vegas storyline? Is Mr. House still in there?
No idea. I gotta admit, I'm terrible with that on the when it.
I don't mind if they give us that story all over again.
Yeah,
I really don't.
Cool, absolutely.
Yeah. Alrighty, your number 5, Andy.
My number 5 is this was so much fun. And I think I've watched this movie 3 times now, twice with the kid, and it's Abigail.
Oh, nice!
I love a fun vampire movie.
Yeah.
And this is non-stop fun.
Yes, I totally agree.
We watched it last week, I think. It was me, Donna, and Jessica who watched it. Laughed our asses off all the way through it. And I thought that when I'd caught the trailer, I didn't think I was like, oh, this looks great, and then they tell you the premise. So again, I don't feel bad spoiling it. It's like bunch of mercenaries kidnap a young ballerina to ransom her back to her wealthy father, only to find out she's more than a helpless child. She's a fucking vampire. So they put it on Front Street in the trailer, and I was like, why would you spoil it? And it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. It's not like they, it actually adds to the movie that and they don't when they're, say, in this venue. And again, one location.
Yes.
Small fucking
one big
crew.
house.
It's not difficult. They're like, oh, who killed this guy? Who killed that guy? And she's in the fucking room like, what's happening?
The innocent virginal girl.
Absolutely, terrible. And then, this one, I think of all the movies that I say, sort of like the gore, the carnage candy, whatever you want to call it, this one goes hard in the paint.
Yeah,
there's buckets of blood in this one.
I'm a huge fan of Ready or Not, the Samara Weaving film that they made before this one.
Oh, yes.
And small spoilers, but it seems that this filmmaking team have a penchant for making people turn into liquid blood. Yeah. And I don't have a problem with this.
Great cast. You've got... God, I always forget his name from from Breaking Bad. And... Giovanni. Yeah, thank you. Yes, him.
Yeah.
But it's the child actress. She's phenomenal as the lead in Abigail. She's so entertaining, and she really comes across as a nasty bit.
Oh hell yeah!
The mercenary group are just like perfect group of oddball characters. There's the tech guy, this guy, that girl.
All the stereotypes, but their interplay is great.
Yeah,
and rip Angus Cloud as well, who sadly passed away shortly after the film.
Yeah, absolutely. It is really it's been a great year for horror, and I'd like to see more played out in this universe, because when you bring in the sort of her dad and stuff. There's so much more to this.
Yeah, it was one of those films where I was like, how do they wrap this up? And this is an interesting angle. Oh, okay. And it got more and more interesting where you thought it was going to wrap things up. And so it all works. It all really works.
And they don't shy away from bringing in the kind of supernatural lore of the vampire, where it's she bites someone and then she's able to puppet them and control them, and
you don't see that very often.
Someone else tries it and she's like, yeah, you can't just do that, bitch. It took me years to learn that, which is great. There's a bit like they walk in and she's doing her dance to Swan Lake with a corpse.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you nasty bitch! Like, oh, it's so fucking funny. Oh god.
Yeah.
So Abigail,
Good pick.
just good times, man.
Yeah.
Good times for horror. Totally.
Alrighty.
So you're number 5. I can talk about this one with you,
Yes.
but I didn't factor it in.
We'll talk about it a whole year from now.
It will probably. It's going to be difficult for it not to land on my best of the year.
Yeah. My number 5 is Nosferatu. This was an incredible film, written and directed by Robert Eggers. It stars Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult, and Bill Skarsgård, among many others. And it's a gothic tale of, is it a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. If you've ever read a Dracula story or seen a Dracula film, you know the story of Nosferatu.
Yeah, if you've seen the Coppola version, then you're good.
Yeah, you know the story.
But imagine it's set in Germany, so you don't know any of the names.
Yes, yeah. And my God, I love a good gothic story. This film's imagery, it calls. The original Nosferatu is over 100 years old, and this adaptation just nailed it. The atmosphere, the imagery, the symmetry in some of the shots. I can still see the woodland shot with the snow and the pathway leading all the way up. The sequence where the horse and cart comes up and the wolves are running behind them. Just the cityscape of Romania with the gypsies, back into Germany, those old buildings, and the coffin bearers, just as the plague hits, as the rats approach, as the Demeter hits the side. It is incredible. The performances. Lily Rose Depp she bears all, and she gives one hell of a performance.
Dude, she must have felt like she'd had shit kicked out of her by the time she finished this, because there's so much like physical body horror that she's just doing in her own skin. That's like, damn, you must be tired. Like, do you know what I mean? It looked like that.
Yeah.
Nicholas Hoult was so fucking good in this.
Yes.
When he first meets Count Orlok and he's just in his presence, the fear that he is just pouring out of him, just to be around, just to be in his presence is palpable. He really translates it. We talked about Penguin, Colin Farrell disappearing into this character.
Yeah.
You could give me 100 guesses if you told me this was Skarsgård. I'm never guessing it.
No.
The Not accent, just the makeup. The voice is amazing. I read afterwards, because I kind of was doing that. I don't want to know anything. I just want to go see it. Because I know that they kind of did a thing. They made a big deal about how the voice got released, like a line or something got released so people could hear his voice before it went in. I was like, I won't fucking hear that if it's that good.
Yeah.
Afterwards, when I listened to it, he worked with like opera singers. He worked with Mongolian throat singers to learn how to. He's described it as I'm talking from my chest cavity.
Yeah,
and I'm like, yeah, that sounds legit.
Yeah,
the voice.
It's unearthly. His voice,
and it's not just the fact that he's developed this voice; it's the fact that he's able to like bring it up and down. When he raises his voice, when he gets angry, I found myself like fucking like gripping the truth. I don't like that. Don't shout at me. It's an incredible performance, and like I love the way you've got. Nosferatu was essentially a Bram Stoker's Dracula that didn't have the rights to Bram Stoker's Dracula. That's what it was 100 years ago.
It's a ripoff.
Yeah, it is. So where you've got like Bram Stoker's Dracula, if you want to boil it down, it's a love story. It's him and Mina, she's the reincarnation of his great love. This is not that. He's drawn to this woman, but as he describes himself, he's no more than an appetite.
Yeah,
that's it. He just mentally tortures this poor girl into giving herself to him.
Yeah,
for no reason that you're ever told.
It was something to do with the blood, I think. If it was like her blood has an exquisite taste to it for reasons. I can't remember.
Yeah, he's like me and beer and steak. I don't know.
Exactly.
But the
you're going to travel from Romania all the way to Germany to sample this blood.
Some of those shots, man, like it's in the trailer. It's like
hand shadow across the town. Brilliant. Again, it's just that gothic imagery. It's so well
Willem
done.
Dafoe's having the time of his life
Yes, he's
in
having
this
so
one.
much fun running around as the
The Van
quasi Van
Helsing
Helsing.
style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've got
So
the
I love he's just like vampirology. It's not an exact science. Like I'm trying to dig through these old tomes to understand what's going
Do
on.
you know what was funny as well as who surprised me in it was Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yes, I actually didn't even know it was him.
Bill Skarsgård and Aaron Taylor Johnson were in arguably two of the worst movies of the year in The Crow and Craven. And
Right.
I was like,
Yeah.
wow, you pulled that nosedive up, didn't you?
I was
Like-
honestly, I didn't recognize him at all. It was only like a week afterwards. I was like, really? That was Kick-Ass? That was him?
Ralph Ineson's amazing in it, and he plays like the doctor that was like the Richard E. Grant character in the Coppola version.
Yeah.
God, he's so good. His voice is just... he's got such an amazing, commanding voice as well. And he's in a movie where it's like you could lose out that part, but everyone nails it. I had one slight issue with it, which was this weird... what I felt was maybe a miscalculation in time, because there's where it's sort of like you've got he gives them like 3 days.
Yeah.
He's like 3 days and I'm taking her, essentially like that. When he visits a house, I don't want to spoil it, but it's a jarring scene.
Yep.
2 people die, and the next scene they're instantly being buried, and I was like, what was the sort of turnaround time for a funeral in them days? Because
because of the plague and everything else that was happening.
They're told yet.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, like I said, you're probably right. Yeah, it's like, you couldn't, like you would bury. And he's a well-to-do guy. It's probably something you put in place, and he's obviously not in his right mind. Everyone's driven mad in this movie,
She was irresistible.
But that did have me a moment.
There is maybe some necrophilia in the movie that might really upset a few people. I've seen some very, I want to say prudish, but there were some very prudish remarks about the film that it upset a few people's sensibilities. But
I was kind of shocked. I was really shocked by that, because I was like, really? I think it was more like, everyone in this circle is just slowly going insane, really, through this torture that they're being put under.
I want to say as well, there's a few instances of some very impressive gore as well, like skin being torn and stretched and the blood and everything is very, very, and it's also quite disturbing
fake
imagery
dick.
As well. Yes, there's some dead dick,
which Nicholas Holt's got. Did you see that? Robert Eggers gifted him the prosthetic fake in a frame, and there's a picture of Nicholas Holt holding it like. I was like, that's fucking amazing.
What a movie!
Yeah, it was. I loved it. It's funny because we were talking about it before the break as well. Sort of like when I went to see it, it was like 8:00 at night on a Friday or whatever. Fairly empty screening. Which I was like, I thought this was going to be rammed.
I went the wrong time.
I said to you, like, I almost moved seats because, like, so not the row behind, maybe the row behind me there. It's hard to tell because the seat's so big now in that cinema. But there's a couple of like young girls just like fucking laughing all the way through it. And I was like, I nearly was going to be like, shut the fuck up, like, but I didn't. It was,
I think you definitely had it worse. I went in midday Tuesday, so pretty much early Tuesday afternoon. When I booked the tickets the day before, there was only 2 other seats taken. When I went in there, I had to get my phone out and struggle past people to find my seat because it was full and obviously it was dark. But yeah, absolutely sold out.
I can't believe it was. Yeah, that's so weird.
The other thing that I have to say, you had the giggling girls. I had people snoring. At least 3 men in that cinema snoring. There was a random woman sat next to me, and she gave her husband grief when the credits rolled up. She was like, I can't believe I paid for a ticket when you just fucking slept through the whole movie. You could have just stayed at home and slept. It's just like,
why don't you wake him up?
Right?
Shut the fuck up.
It's kind of funny.
I mean, it is. I mean, how long is this one? Because I already sort of I went on to sort of like almost pre-order the Blu-ray for when it's coming out,
awesome.
And he's already doing an extended edition because of course.
Sweet.
So it's going to be even fucking longer. But
awesome.
I mean, it's at least 2.5 plus, right?
I know, there was about 2 hours.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it was that long.
I mean, it didn't feel that long. Like, don't get me wrong. It's just, but I thought it was longer than that. But yeah, fucking stellar. You'll hear about it again in a year.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my number 5, Nosferatu.
Go. My number 4. It's another horror movie. Which you've already mentioned.
Surprise.
You know what? This very nearly, honestly, ended up being my number 1 of the year.
Okay.
It was The First Omen.
Nice, yeah.
I fucking loved this movie. It was really good. This made me go back to watch like the first, the original, and then I think I watched the number 2 because I couldn't get the third one. Third one's Sam Neill, right?
Yeah, I think
That's
that's the only one I know I haven't seen.
One Damien, and then the
And I
second
think
one.
the fourth.
Second one he's in college, in like in school,
Yeah.
and then I think it's the third one. Anyway, I watched a couple more after this. So this is the prequel to the original Omen, following Damien's mum before the events of the first movie.
That's right.
I had zero expectations for this, and again, it was excellent. Ralph Ineson, again from Nosferatu, played Father Brennan. That was the Peter Trotton from the original, that character. Was it Postlethwaite did it in the remake? I think.
I don't recall.
I've seen I think I've seen the remake like once. But you've got Charles Dance and Bill Nye's in this as well. So it's for the rest, relatively, to me at least, unknown cast. You've still got a bit of a star-studded, sort of like affair going on. It's Nell Tiger Free playing Damien's mum in this.
Right. Yeah.
Never seen her, but damn, does she carry this movie? The character, she's going to like Rome in about, I think it's 1971, to be, I don't know what a junior nun is, to become a nun, to take her vows, I guess, or whatever, but going to the school, absolutely carries the movie. It's got great tie-ins, to the original, but absolutely works without having to see it, I would have thought, and it doesn't really rely on jump scares. It works way more on anxiety and tension building.
Yeah, a powerful sense of dread.
Ridiculously good shots which look very practical. One of which, if you've ever, I've been in a room when a woman gives birth, and I was like, yeah, that's what it looks like. Like, Jesus, it's like it'll catch you, and then it actually does something that doesn't always work in a established horror franchise. Is they retcon something pretty big, and that is that Damien was not the only child born, that he's got a sibling.
Yeah.
And then so now we've the possibility into a new universe,
new timeline,
call it, a new timeline where she's now got this other child, and not really sport, but she's told at the end by Father Brennan that they know about him.
Yeah.
So it's like you've got this other family that's now at risk, Brilliant performances, some of the creepiest visuals in a horror movie this year.
Especially because, like, being not necessarily a religious person, but you end up getting pulled into that world.
And I love religious horror. This is it, because to me, I'm like, that's the scariest stuff, because it's like, so many people believe. I'm not belittling anything as an atheist. I'm just saying so many people believe this. Yeah. And regardless of whether you believe it, the stories are so gripping, and so you're just talking about ultimate good and ultimate evil. So when you start going into that world, it's like, it should be scary. You know what I mean? Absolutely. And listen, they get it wrong so many times. I watched the fucking Pope's Exorcist this year, and so that's getting a sequel. Oh
God, that was awful.
Yeah, it really was. It's what's the thing that made me like is fat Russell Crowe on a tiny Vespa. It's just really funny.
Floating demons round the world.
Oh my God, that's so good. But I for a it's very difficult to make a prequel to a very well established horror franchise, and not just
nail
it, and actually, to me, improve what's going to follow, i.e., the original. Yeah, that's really difficult. Like we talked, like Furiosa didn't do that for me, for example.
Sure. Yeah,
this fucking nailed that for me.
Yeah,
loved it. Highly recommend it. I think it's on Disney Plus.
Nice. It's definitely worth watching. It was an honorable mention for me as well. And again, it was a film where I was like, Omen prequel, skip. And again, it was thanks to you, Andy, that went, actually, there's something worth there. Man. So yeah, hearing that it's so high up on your list as well, I'm not surprised. It was that good. Alrighty, well, my number 4, I think we've already talked about this one just a little bit. I
never thought you'd get it this high on your list.
It's the Penguin TV show. It's my number 4. Like I said, it's my second best TV show of the year. I was wowed by Colin Farrell's performance as Oz Cobb, but again, it was Kristen Milotti as well who really put the soul into that show, and you felt sympathetic for her, and you really rooted for her as well.
Do you know what? Sorry, just on that point as well, it does something that can easily go wrong in a series where there's an episode that takes you away from the main character.
Yes,
it focuses just on her.
Yes,
and it's a flashback, and it's still good somehow. You're like,
Exactly.
That's the kind of thing where
The
someone's like,
strength
oh,
of the
can we
writing.
please stay with who we're supposed to be focusing on? Like, no, tell us
Yeah.
more.
It was also great to flash back to the Batman here and there for the destruction that occurred in that film, and then the repercussions, and seeing the people in the slums, in the washed out, sunken areas
cool.
of Gotham,
That's
rebuilding.
all response to the movie as well.
So
So it
the
keeps it,
world building of that Batman universe now is so strong.
and you
And
don't miss Batman in this movie.
you don't. You
You don't
absolutely
need him.
don't. I thought they wouldn't be able to resist, and there would be hints of him here and there, but I,
There's not even
there's nothing.
there's not even a street level guy going, oh, I don't want to go out tonight because of the Batman.
Right? Yeah, nothing.
There's nothing.
But there's also no Bruce Wayne mention or anything like that either. So, yeah, absolutely
Totally put it
fascinating.
on its own shoulders. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, so yeah, high recommendation for the Penguin again.
Yeah.
Andy, you're number 3.
My number 3 is it was my best cinema experience as well of the year. I gotta admit that. It's Deadpool and Wolverine.
Ah, nice.
I fucking loved this movie.
Yes.
And I know it's like, listen, I'll completely acknowledge we've talked about the downswing of the MCU and the issues.
Big downswing.
You know, they fucking tell you in this movie, like, you're joining at a bit of a low point.
The self-awareness.
This was so for all the shit I said about like Romulus and the member berries and the like, it's like, oh, why do we always have to have these cameos, and why do we have to bring this up and bring this up? It's like sometimes they're the movie to do it.
Properties.
This was the movie to do it.
Absolutely. Alien is not a member berry franchise.
No, absolutely not.
Deadpool is Metapool, you know?
Again, like, listen, the story, I appreciate a few people had some issues with the story. Yeah, the story's not perfect. Yeah, it was a bit shit.
It's another multiverse story.
That his girlfriend was sort of like, what have you done for me lately? It's like, kind of brought you back to life, bitch. Whatever. I guess I got to get a job now. Okay. So that didn't go over great with me. But listen, the commitment of Hugh Jackman coming back to play Wolverine.
Get him back into shape. Our retirement.
Good God. To finally put the fucking...
And dressing up in the yellow spandex.
Earlier, man. It was great, you know? And, yeah, this was the best cinema experience I had, because this is the movie that I enjoy. I went in knowing as little as possible. I think I said when I first watched it, I must have been the only person in the cinema that didn't know Tyler Mane was coming back to play Sabretooth, because when he rocked up, no one said anything, and I went, oh!
I didn't know either. I mean, did you see the trailer?
No, I didn't watch it.
Okay, because I saw the first trailer.
We're doing Deadpool 3 and Wolverine's in it. I'm like, so you don't need to tell me anything else.
Yeah, based on the strength of the previous 2 Deadpools. Obvious, no-brainer.
So this was the movie where I enjoyed being in the cinema. It was packed. Fucking Jennifer Garner walks on the screen.
Yeah,
Wesley Snipes walks on the screen. Fucking Channing Tatum finally as Gambit walks on the screen. People threw babies in the air. It was so exciting. But again, yeah,
class.
That's the movie you want to do it in. You know, everyone's laughing, everyone's having a great time. It's you know, my kid was devastated that I couldn't sneak her in at 50. They were checking everyone's ID as a kid. It's not going to happen. You have to wait. I literally was about to order it on 4K when it dropped, and then they were like, "It'll be on Disney Plus next week," and I was like,
"Save some money,
save 20 quid there."
Yeah.
And we sat down and watched it. I told her I was doing this. I said, "What's your favorite movie of the year?" I'll put it on the podcast. She's like, "Deadpool, Wolverine." I was like, "Really?" She's like, "It's just nonstop awesome."
Yeah.
You know, and again, she's not an MCU fan. She's not a comic book movie fan necessarily. You know.
So that's great that it works on a standalone movie.
Stunning soundtrack as well. Brilliant opening, dancing to fucking NSYNC, start to finish. Just and I really love. I mean, obviously, I love the TVA. They're great, pulling them in from Loki. The main bad guy in it. The typical British quintessential. So funny, just absolutely brilliant. Yeah, just fun. We're allowed to have fun sometimes with this shit. And the MCU.
It was also the fact that like Logan was a real bittersweet bookend to Wolverine. And so the whole sequence of Deadpool being like, oh, you know, like Logan was a great movie. Like he acknowledges it in the film. Yeah. It's like, so we're going to disrespect it somehow, and just fighting with the skeletal remains of that Logan. Just brilliant.
The fact that they were like, yeah, we're going to swear through this as well. Like,
oh, hell
we're not going to tone down. But like, I think someone put up a post and it said something like, there's 181 F-bombs in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. One is in Guardians 3, which
Yeah.
like, open the fucking door and they're like 179 are in the Wolverine Deadpool.
Class.
I was like, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're allowed to have fun, and also still amongst all that fun and all the comedy, managed to pull a wonderful performance out of him and Daphne Keane
Yes.
to reignite that father daughter
X-23.
X-23
Yeah.
storyline. Only thing is, someone might be able to get me on this, because the one thing I always say, I know it's different multiverses, but I swear they said afterwards that they confirmed that Daphne Keane is the X-23 from the Logan universe.
I think so, yeah. So I don't know how she ended up in the...
How'd she get adamantium on her claws?
I don't know. There's a lot of story not being told.
Hey, listen, fucking doesn't ruin the movie for me. I was literally, I was like, even in the cinema, when she did it, I was kind of like, wait. But I was like, oh, well, I don't know. It's any X-23 in it, I suppose. And she is older. But I was kind of like, where'd you get your adamantium from? What's all that on? But there you go.
True.
Yeah, brilliant. Can't wait to see him do this till he's 90.
Yes. Nice. So my number 3, aptly placed, is The Three Body Problem. And this is my favorite TV show of the year. Now, I'm saying favorite because I'm not saying it was the best, but because The Three Body Problem, for me, was the biggest mind fuck of the year. I thought I had a great imagination for storytelling and ideas and of the unknown, but the Three Body Problem, it literally made my mind explode with the possibilities, and not knowing, because the thing is with the Three Body Problem is that my placement of it here is this is now also based on the fact that after the show finished, I went out and discovered the books that it's based upon and consumed the whole lot as quickly as possible because I needed to know more. I needed to know where the story was going, and like season 1 of the Netflix version of Three Body Problem is like a tiny bubble.
This is on Netflix, is it?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It's this tiny bubble of this story, and knowing where it goes. And so I was kind of scared that it was going to get cancelled or this wouldn't be done. But apparently, David Benioff and D.B. Wise have been guaranteed by Netflix that they get the whole 3 seasons, that each season is one of the 3 books, and they get to do the whole thing. And if for those of you that don't know where the story goes, you're going to have your minds blown too. And I hope that the season 2 and 3 remains as strong as the first one. Now, I'm the first one to say, I didn't expect to champion Dumb and Dumberer ever again after the absolute shit show that became Game of Thrones. You've heard me complain so many times about them.
Oh, that's what they did, was it?
Yeah, this is their next project after Game of Thrones.
After they binned off to that Star Wars one, yeah.
Now, the great thing is, obviously, Three Body Problem is a completed story, so they don't have to make up the ending and completely ruin it or rush it. They know 3 seasons, this is the story.
I'm tempted to change it, dude.
No, from interviews with them, they're very excited to deliver the story as is from the books. Now, granted, they have made changes to the books already, but it's their strength is definitely in adaptation because they've taken certain characters and molded them together to try to. It's a book, right? You have to thin down some of the characters. So yeah, some of them have been shortened it down and merged together. But the strength of the cast, Liam Cunningham, absolutely brilliant. He was brilliant in Game of Thrones. He has really taken off as
Liam Cunningham again.
He was the Onion Knight. He was the one hanging out with the Baratheons.
You gotta remember, I've binned off.
He was with Stannis Baratheon for the most part. He was the smuggler.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you
he
now.
was in.
Yes.
He was the one of the bad guys in Dog Soldiers.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, he's great. And yeah, so I don't want to spoil it. That's the thing. The reason why again this is so high for me is because of how mind blown I was. I've rewatched it through twice. I love the storytelling. Now, yes, some of the CGI isn't quite there, but I hope it gets even better in the second and third season. But there's a sequence with a boat and mass deaths on a scale I did not see coming. I was could not believe my eyes at the scale of destruction that was happening on screen during that sequence. But yeah, like the end of the first episode was the real cincher, like the real clicker. If you don't know anything about the show, scientists around the world are all killing themselves. They're committing suicide. Why? Because physics doesn't make sense anymore. Everything that they knew about science is just, for some reason, wrong. So it's just driven them mad. Like everything they knew, everything that was based on all science that's grown has just gone mad. And there's another scientist who's making headway, like new revolutionary like science, and she sees this countdown timer, like the 24 clock counting down, and she's been told that when they hit 0, you're dead, just like all the other scientists. Unless you quit your project and stop advancing science, you live. So all the scientists around the world are just stopping, which is causing a regression in technology. And just to prove that the people, the powers that are in control, they make the entire skyline of stars blink at the end of the first episode. And the whole world sees that.
Jesus,
like,
man.
what just happened? Are we in the Matrix? Is this a simulation?
Yeah,
What's going on?
yeah.
So, though it explores so many great scientific ideas in a really fun narrative. So I really recommend Three Body Problem, even though you may have reservations about the people made it. For me, it was fantastic. So it was my TV show of the year.
Outstanding. Well, funny enough, my number 2 is also my best TV show of the year. And it's something that I literally watched in the first week, I think, of 2024. And that is Mr. Bates versus the Post Office.
Ah, nice. That was such a good show.
I'm just going to say that this is why British drama is still the best in the world. Everyone else can suck it.
It's such
We
a
are
quaint
fucking
little story.
It does help when, like, you know, it's based on a true story of absolute horrificness. But
Yes.
this really is the best British drama I've watched in years. So this is it's a 4-part television drama. It's for ITV over here. So if you're in the States, obviously, you know, it's streaming or something. But it's a dramatization of the currently ongoing British Post Office scandal, which is this miscarriage of justice in which hundreds of sub postmasters, which is basically, you know, it's a lot of like small business owners that have, say, like, you know, like a woman runs a cafe, but within it, she's contracted to also have a post office in like a local village, something like that. So really, for a lot of people as well, pillars of the community, you know, important people in small communities. And they were wrongly prosecuted, both privately and publicly, for theft.
Makes me
false
angry.
accounting.
So angry.
I've written on this. This will boil your fucking blood.
Yeah.
This show. But they're prosecuted for theft, false accounting, or fraud due to a faulty computer system called Horizon, owned by Fujitsu.
Destroyed their fucking lives.
It's a tough watch. It's an uplifting watch. It's drama at its very best.
The determination of the human spirit to right this fucking wrong.
This is, such a great example of, like, there's some people that you can walk all over in life, and there's some people that will push back in the best way possible. Toby Jones plays Mr. Bates.
Ever since I saw him as little Ollie in the Mist movie, I've loved him in everything.
I always remind him as the fucking guy in Your Highness with no dick. He's just really funny in it. But Toby Jones plays Mr. Bates, who kind of like is a victim of this, who loses everything, you know.
Yes.
And again, you're talking about, I mean, it spans the gambit of like age, but you're talking about a huge amount of like people who were, say, doing this as part of their retirement. They're about to enter their twilight years. This is how they're gonna live their lives and stuff now, and everything is taken away from them.
Everything.
Because basically Horizon's computer systems were falsely creating errors in it. And again, listen, this goes in, we have people investigating it. You see it from all these different angles of, like, you know, guys that go in and sort of like, we're investigating it and sort of found out it's like, so you guys are just changing stuff and not telling them. And, you know, we've got people that are sort of like paying their own money in to stop, like, you know, issues with, you know, balance discrepancies at the end of the working day.
Yeah. Because they feel like their maths was wrong, or they lost some money.
More, you know, watching these poor people fall more and more into debt. There's one particular woman who, like I said, is like someone who owns like a little cake shop with a post office. You just feel so terrible for her, because it's such an amazing performance, the way she just drowns further and further into this debt that she's not creating, that is just being levied against her.
And other people vilify these as well because they think they actually took it off the top. They were stealing and siphoning the post office
people
money.
Were prosecuted and labelled as thieves.
Yes, people went to prison.
They went for this. When they've got a support
innocent
group,
people.
There's a guy who literally, he has his birthday there, and they all say happy birthday, and he said, I had my last birthday in a fucking prison cell.
Yeah.
And he's like 55, 50, 60 maybe, just some dad who was like sent to prison for something he never did.
Yeah.
They're still fighting for justice. The woman who plays the sort of CEO of the post office and stuff, who's like, you know, who conveniently was an ex-priest who throws the collar back on the second she's got to be in public, who's still to this, as far as I know right now, still trying to fucking fight this in court.
Yeah.
Who based on it needs to be in prison,
right?
But she's phenomenal in it. You know, she'll make you hate her.
The show was so impactful that in the House of Commons the next day, I think it was the Conservatives at the time, were in there talking about what they'd watched on TV the night before and trying to figure out how they could assist and fix this. Yeah,
the you know, Horizon bring in an actual investigator on their behalf, who ends up literally going, fuck you, and actually start helping the
people that you've screwed.
Like, no, I've seen it. Like, you know, Will Mellor is in it, who's like a British actor who mostly does comedy stuff. Like, he did 2 pints of lager and a packet of crisps, like a British sitcom, you know, very juvenile sitcom.
Yeah.
He's not someone who's really necessarily on my radar. Donna loves him. My wife loves him because him and Ralph Little from 2 Pints have a podcast that she really enjoys. He's stellar in this, as again just a working man who just goes through the ringer. Is absolutely, like I said, I think it's 4 episodes. It's absolutely worth your time. You will.
It's a really compelling human story.
All emotions. I mean, this is something you and Donna just huddled up together, watched. You'll shed tears. You'll punch the air. It's phenomenal, and just the fact that there's a lot that based on a true story is very overused. This is one that you can actually sort of like rely on, and you'll fall down the rabbit hole afterwards.
Yes, you'll be.
I was like, you know, I know we give our boy grief, but I was straight on Wikipedia after this one. Like, really true.
I've been watching interviews with the real people, and then following the real story with the real, you know, people instead of the actors now. But yeah, it's a story worth checking out.
Absolutely. Just before you do your number 2 now, you've not scrolled down, but I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark that we, for once, have actually synced up on our best of the year.
Really?
I'm just going to take.
Because you haven't mentioned it yet, and you've done all 9.
Exactly. So I'll let you do your.
I need to hide.
I'll do your number 2, and then I guess we'll do.
My number 2 is my second favorite film of the year. And the reason why it's only number 2, because this film is a hell of a lot more fun than my film at number 1.
I love that you placed this higher than I did.
I loved Deadpool and Wolverine. It was the most fun I had in the cinema last year. Yeah. It was a packed cinema, and everyone was on the same wavelength of we're here to have fun and laugh. And the infectious laughter of a crowd watching a film like this is amazing. Surrounded by fans of the comic books that know, like Wade Wilson, so much more than I do. They know about Logan more than I do. And so when there's Calvorine and there's imagery from the comic books and all this other stuff that people are geeking out over, I don't have a clue. That energy was incredible. We've talked about Deadpool and Wolverine a lot. It was one of the best films of the year, if not the best. But the reason why it's only number 2 for me, and because it's like tight, close to pick, I have to go with originality every time.
Yeah.
And that's why that's why Three Body Problem was over Penguin, even though I think Penguin is an exquisitely so much better crafted TV show. The Three Body Problem, with its new ideas, for me, is what scores really high. And so that's why my number 2 is only that Deadpool Wolverine is only number 2, despite being an absolute fan favorite, crowd pleasing, endlessly rewatchable film.
Absolutely. So,
should we say it together? Number 1 movie?
Terrifier 3.
Yeah, Art the Clown, baby! It's finally horror. No, it's not.
We're kidding. No, it's
The Substance. Yes, it's the definitely without a doubt film of the year.
We both said last year that last month on the podcast, it's like we didn't start our top 10 until we watched The Substance.
We started our list.
Well, is that taken care of? Yeah,
yes,
man.
absolutely.
Talk about a movie that sticks with you, and that for me, for like, you know, best of the year and whatnot, is like, I think we both said this was the first movie that as good as some of the other movies on my list were, this is the one that I finished watching and was like, and that stayed with me for 2 to 3 days.
For me, it's months now. I'm still that film's still reverberating through me.
Absolutely.
The performances, the filmmaking. Like, I can't quite remember the music, but I know it just made me feel queasy. The sound design of the huffing and the puffing of the labored movements as the monstrosity towards the
like. How did they manage to make her making dinner make you feel queasy?
Yes,
you know, the cracking of, like, you know, of leg bones on chicken. Dennis Quaid taking the most aggressive piss in cinema history.
Yeah, the way he's eating it is a perverse and it is a disturbing film. It is pornographic in its sexuality and its horrendousness. Like we said, like with Dennis Quaid eating, the extreme close-ups, the sound effects of the crunching and the squelching, the fly on it, the sweaty back of his neck, the extreme close-ups of the aerobics lessons, like all of the curves, but then all of the body horror that comes through that. It's horrible. The story itself is nothing new.
I'm also going to say very small amount of locations.
Yeah, it's pretty much just in her apartment.
There's a
and got the studio. Yes. Yeah.
You can need 1 million people. We don't need, like, you know, not for certain. Like, don't get me wrong, like Dune, spectacles like that, absolutely. You know, I loved The Northman.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, just put a fucking story in a couple of rooms and you're gonna get gold from it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of agenda-heavy movies, and this one.
It has a message. It has a message. It's just obvious.
It's just so well told.
Yes.
Everything about it lands in a way that's not sort of like, it's not lecturing you. It's not talking down to you. It it doesn't actually talk as much as just show you and you go, oh yeah. You know, like the whole sort of like, you know, it's very easy to go like, you know, oh, Hollywood's so obsessed with like looks and stuff, and it's like, and then but when you've got Demi Moore, the goddess that she still is at 60, you know, she's absolutely stunning. She's, you know, she bears all in this movie. She's completely naked, and you're like, that. I know women our age that would kill to have a body like that. It's amazing.
It's one hell of a comeback movie for her, because I hadn't seen her in years.
It's still not good enough, apparently. You know? That's the fucking message.
But it's also the mental place they put themselves in, even though it's not true.
Yeah.
But it's the moment when that's really sad, when she realizes she actually has no friends.
Yeah.
And she always kept everyone like arm's distance.
Yeah.
But then like that one guy that remembered her and appreciated her, and that sequence where she's preparing to go out on the date with him.
Yeah.
And you see the clock. Every time it cuts back to the clock, and she's changed her hair,
and she'll
changed her clothing,
cover herself up a bit more, and she keeps looking at her doppelganger, her perfect self, and it's like, I'm not as good as that. No matter what I do, I can't get there. I can't get close to that.
So it's soul destroying as well.
The guy waiting for her, who's constantly messaging her, going like, "Where are you?" is like, dude, he saw you in the street, wrapped up, no makeup, can't wait to see you.
Yeah.
It's your own insecurities that are telling you you're not good enough. Yeah. And I'm totally listening, like, you know, I've talked about body dysmorphia and stuff. Before, and, you know, so that really, it hit fucking hard. But
it does,
oh my fuck, does it not just nail that?
Yeah,
you know?
Because
62, thank you, Disc.
Yeah, so like you're watching the film and you're like, why hasn't she cancelled this? Why hasn't she pulled the plug? Why hasn't she escaped this? Like, but you know why. The film spent the first half of it telling you why she absolutely would not, and why it would spiral into like the worst case scenario.
Chat, she smashed Hot Ones as well. I will point out, 62 years old, like chicken wings, boom.
I missed that. I need to go check that episode.
I mean, and to be fair, again, there's like, you know, it's a cast of like really, like when you get
3.
speaking parts, like 4 or 5. You got a guy across the hallway. He's got a couple of
Oh yeah,
scenes. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
you've got again the guy that she talks to, and that's really about it. Other than Dennis Quaid, Margaret Qualley, who's oh my god, what just I don't know that I've seen her in anything else really.
She was in the last Tarantino film. The
Oh, of course, she's one of the gang, isn't
yes,
she?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because there's a thing about how every single one of them is now like a megastar.
Right.
Because like Austin Butler's one of them.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Because she's Andy McDowell's daughter.
Also, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's only when someone told me, I was like, "Oh God, she really looks like her."
Yeah, yeah. I didn't. I had no idea as well until it was mentioned.
She just absolutely holds her own in such an invasive. She's very naked throughout this movie, and I know she did come out. Like she kind of come out saying, like, "Sorry, those boobs aren't mine." It's prosthetics and stuff, but still, to be that exposed. In a movie, being so young and sort of like really, as far as I sort of like new maybe to the scene, it really deserves applause. I mean, like for one, I love that this movie's getting awards.
It's been re-released back into theaters. She got the Golden Globe. Yeah, yeah.
Well deserved.
Well earned. Yeah. So it's nice to see this film's coming back into cinemas for those that missed it, because it usually happens. That usually happens.
And so, for one. The body horror is like
it's the most extreme I've seen in a film in forever.
It really is, and it's so like it builds to obviously such a ridiculous crescendo in a way. Like
it's over the top and comical.
It is,
and I know some people have had issue with the ending as well, that it was too much. It was too much.
I've got to admit, the booby out the eyeball had me like,
whoa! What?
Even at this point, I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But
I
actually, my favourite body horror was just the sort of like the close up of sort of like them drawing the blood. They're like,
the needle thing going in and out the whole. Yeah,
and she's just trying to keep her mouth shut, and they're like, "Give us a smile," and she's like, "There's no too smile." You're like, it's unstoppable from start to finish. It's the law, for lack of a better word, behind it as well, like this corporation that clearly it's an experiment they're doing. The way you see the when she goes in to get her delivery from these lockers in this very shady part,
this
of town,
unknown entity,
the lockers start disappearing.
There's less and less of them.
It's like I said to you, like the what was it? I said there's arguably like this kind of weird plot hole, not a plot hole, but maybe a mistake where it's like you've got the activator that obviously they're like, only use this once. And I'm like, why'd you give them so much then? It's like, because they want to see what you're going to do with it.
Yeah, it's like an experiment.
Everything about it was like, and that's it. That's why it stays with you. And when you roll a movie around like that, we're like, do you know what? I can't pick a fucking hole in it.
No, exactly.
Outstanding.
Yeah,
so
without
obviously
doubt.
the homages to like Kubrick in it, the different shots that they use that are out of different movies are just wonderfully done.
It's a film I've only seen the once, and I'd like
same,
it's taken this long to get over it.
I'm on one watch as well, and I can't wait to get the to get Blu-ray, because I'm interested in watching some interviews and sort of like getting some of the information behind it. But it's look, it's rare, man, that I'll sort of like watch a movie that's got such a hammering message.
Nice.
And be like, fucking round of applause. This is outstanding.
Hell yeah.
Outstanding from start to finish.
Alrighty,
and it's the movie that I've pissed off the most people with this year, going, have you watched it?
Yeah, me too.
So my friends are like, no. I'm like, well, fuck you. You're stupid.
It does deserve to be seen.
What a fucking great year for horror.
Hell yeah, I've been saying it for the last few months. Really has been.
Around, in my opinion, like, just it's being taken seriously again. We're getting stuff in this. Listen, Terrifier 3 has done some good stuff for horror because it's shown that you can make a lot of money from the genre. Now, if you don't like Terrifier, that's fine, but it's good for the genre. It's like me loving wrestling. I don't watch AEW, but for me, that's good for the industry because there's competition. There's more places for it to work. It's in people's minds now. Do you know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
WWE going to Netflix and getting back into the public eye is good for AEW because just more people are into wrestling, So it's the same for horror. Is getting to
well said.
Getting to see these movies get some main, sort of like, what am I trying to say? Mainstream
appeal.
Sort of appeal again is like, great. Because when I was a kid, granted, I'm all fucked up in the head, same as we all are on this podcast, but like the horror movies were the ones I was the most interested in as a kid, mostly because I was like, "I'm not allowed to watch these." Like, in the video store, I wanted to like, who's that fucking burnt guy with the knives for fingers? That's fucking cool, That's what we need more of. We talked, we said in the last podcast, didn't we? Where it's like the films or not, it's like Art the Clown really is the one true horror icon of the 21st century we can think of.
Yeah,
mostly because so many remakes. So
remakes and sequels,
they rely on so many
but that's what we love the horror genre for, though. Absolutely, keep those stories going.
When you were like, "Hey, Damien Leone's going to do Friday the 13th," I was like, "Yeah, take my money."
Yeah,
but I want to see more of these, sort of like original ideas.
Yes,
the theme of it is like a lot of these are like original ideas, like you talked about. So yeah, if we can get more of these horror movies winning awards, if you showed a screenshot of the Monstrella Lisa, makeup to someone and was like, "This is going to win a Golden Globe," you'd be like, "Oh shit, there's no way
it's going to some our house movie about something."
No way. That's going to get 5-minute standing ovation at Fantastic Fest, and we're never going to hear about it ever again. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Hell yeah. Well, just to round out this segment of the podcast, I'm going to very quickly just recap our 10. My number 10 was Masters of the Air. Number 9 was Silent Hill 2. Number 8 was Strange Darling, followed by Dune Part 2. Fallout TV series. My number 5 was Nosferatu. Number 4 was the Penguin TV series, followed by the 3 Body Problem. Number 2 was Deadpool vs. Wolverine. And number 1 was The Substance.
Nice. 9, 10 was Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. 9, Late Night with the Devil. 8, Space Marine 2, the video game. 7 was WrestleMania 40. 6, The Penguin. 5 was Abigail. 4, The First Omen. 3 was Deadpool and Wolverine. 2, Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. And number 1 again, The Substance.
Awesome. Well, that's going to conclude this segment of the podcast. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be answering your questions. And welcome back to the third part of the podcast where Andy and I will be answering your questions. Yeah. First question of 2025 comes from Natalie Holberg.
Oh, yeah, Natalie, let's go.
Happy New Year, my kittens. Hope 2025 is treating you all kindly so far. Today's random question is, would you be friends with a giant who has known to eat humans? For context, this dude is an absolute legend, loyal, kind, goes the extra mile for birthdays and Christmases. He is proficient in many instruments and can perform any song of your choice at the drop of a hat. He looks good in a monocle and a waistcoat combo. But you face the threat of being munched anytime dude has low blood sugar. How do you cope with this very real common problem? I'm thinking I'd just go around with a banana in my bag for him to keep the hunger away. Over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rocking out with the giant and keeping a protein bar in my back pocket.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. You've given us the answer how. But yeah, it'd be
plus if you're walking around with a giant and someone gets aggro, you could be like, eat him.
Right, exactly.
Solve 2 problems.
Done. I mean, I'd probably get travel sickness if I'm just imagining I'm sat on his shoulder. Just I'm not used to being that high up. Yeah. I mean, that's the real part. He can play instruments and all stuff. I'm just going to be, It's
going to save me a Spotify subscription because he can play songs. So, yeah.
Right, exactly.
It's an absolute win-win scenario. I don't see anything going wrong with this.
No. I mean, we're talking giant is in
I like to
trolls
think,
giant.
Yeah. I like to think fucking huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can even look like a troll. He doesn't have to just be a giant.
Yeah.
Yeah, our own friendly troll. It's a done deal, Natalie. It's a done deal.
Sign me up, yeah.
Yeah. Cheers for seeing us in style, Natalie.
Perfect start to the year. Absolutely.
Next question is from Paul Atherton.
What up, Paul?
Hey guys, hope you're having a good start to 2025. So far, easing your way into it, so to speak, it can be daunting sorting out weekly movie reviews and monthly podcasts. And I understand how busy you guys are as well, living your everyday lives. I'm in the middle of redecorating my house while I'm off work for 2 weeks. New everything is in flooring, furniture, painting, but it's fun at the same time.
Brutal.
Fun? Well, I suppose. You sadist?
I'm with you. I find it fun, but it is fucking brutal. Yeah.
On to my question. You've done a couple of tournaments, as in the horror franchise and kids' TV franchises. Will you be doing another in the future podcast? I was thinking the ones you left off both lists, as in the kids one, no Power Rangers, and no Howling in the horror one.
I don't think any of us watched Power Rangers. I think we were too old for Power
I,
Rangers.
I was too old. My brother
Yeah.
watched it, so I did watch it, and I did see the first two, I think, in the cinema Power Rangers movies. Yeah, so but we did miss those off. I'm going to watch Wolfman tonight when family with the family. It's got mixed reviews so far. Watching the trailers reviews on YouTube. Managed to watch movies this month such as Substance, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah, we heard it's good.
Defo, the movie of 2024 by a milestone.
Something.
Upgrade I watched on Sky was good. Nosferatu wasn't bad, a bit slow, but I enjoyed it. You did a horror quiz in one of your podcasts. Will you be doing one again, guys? I could go on forever, but keep up the good work, guys. No doubt every review podcast will be fun and entertaining as always. Looking forward to Saturday's New Year podcast. Take care, guys. Here's to a good and kind New Year to all three of you. Cheers, Paul.
Nice one, Paul. Well, it's funny that you say that.
Because the answer's no.
Yeah,
it was no.
This is so weird. Okay, so I called in the other day.
Timing.
Because, yeah, man, good timing. I was watching Ronin a couple of weeks ago, the Robert De Niro 90s action movie.
Nice, yep.
And I immediately, as I finished that, because I think I was on Netflix, Donna went to bed. I was like, I might stay up for a little bit, babe. Netflix, you may enjoy Heat. And I was like, I will. So I sat there and watched fucking Heat. I started thinking about action movies, and we were talking, and then all three of us started talking about how there's like the two major decades of action movies being the 80s and the 90s. So we're thinking of doing a tournament style podcast. We'll get the details when we come to it. Are we planning for this for next month, are we going to say?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
I think I've got it put it together, so... But we're going to do maybe like a kind of comparison of the 80s to the 90s.
Yeah.
With some different categories to see which one rules the roost.
We're still determining some of the categories for the pointing, but you've already got the first part of the point system sorted.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the top 20 grossing movies from each decade. Yeah, so it's just an aggregate. It's just based on how much money they made. Add up those numbers and see which decade made the most money, and that will be 1 point. And then we'll just use, say, Rotten Tomatoes as a review aggregate and go, right, let's see who got the best reviews of both decades. So that'll be 2. And then we're going to use 3 different, 3 other categories.
Variables,
that we've got an idea of, but we're kind of working out between the 3 of us. So it should easily work out. So it'll be sort of best of 5, I guess, of these categories to see which decade's got the best action movies. There you go.
Which film, though, for each decade would be interesting? But the answer is yes. There is a tournament in the way. In terms of doing another film quiz, I loved doing the horror film quiz for these guys. It wasn't last year, but the year before, I think.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I could...
need to host one for you two, I think. That'd be fun. I think I need to host one for you and Ian. I don't know what. Just based on like
Adam Sandler movies.
Alien Romulus.
just based Alien Romulus trivia.
Scene by scene.
Yeah, I did like organizing that and getting the questions and the categories and varying it up quite a bit. It's fun to do. But yeah, I think we could probably see more of those in the future, Paul. And I also imagine we'll probably do more spotlight podcast as well, where we choose an actor.
We really run out of ideas.
Yeah, because there's
someone
many.
Pick an actor.
Yeah,
I can't think of anything for this month.
It's easy. Yeah,
nothing's happened.
But I mean, it does feel like a scapegoat kind of podcast, like, or just an easy one to do. But they can be quite interesting if we pick an actor or a director or a producer or someone we are interested in. I do like. One of the things I do like about doing the film reviews is when we get to an actor or a film director or a writer that we've not explored or discovered before, and then going into the history of that artist and the stuff they'd done before. I find that fascinating, and I love when I have to go and research a little bit away from the movie. I always find that quite rewarding and satisfying. So yeah, so I do like those spotlight episodes, so to speak.
Definitely.
But cheers for the question, Paul. Next question is from Nick Elliott.
What up, Nick?
Let's go!
Let's fucking go.
And my question for both you legends is, will there be a Kurt Russell month this year? I feel it's due. Gary and I spoke on it briefly a while back, and not sure what you have planned for the year. Whatever happens, I'm sure it will be great. Thank you, Nick. We've never had, I don't think, an actor-specific like month, so to speak.
I mean, he's talking about the reviews on.
Yeah,
He's talking
yeah,
specifically,
exactly.
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now
Yeah, I mean, you do like the horror months, obviously, don't you? You've
we
done
only
series,
October for
movies.
10 years.
Yeah.
Every October, it's all horror. We did way back along for 1 month. It was video game movie adaptations based on fighting games. So we did the Tekken movie, Dead or Alive movie.
Brutal.
What were the other ones? Mortal Kombat. We did one of each of them.
Fighter.
Street Fighter as well, and the Legend of Bloody Chun-Li. I can't believe we reviewed the bloody Legend of Chun-Li, and they're still masterpieces that we've not even touched. Like, we've only just done Starship Troopers. But yeah, we've never I think Ian and I need to check a list soon and see how many John Carpenter films are left for us to do. There's not that many now. Although there's a bloody ton of Kurt Russell films. Maybe we've never done a specific actor like that. But it is a possibility. Now, when Ian and I at the moment get to make choices for film reviews, we do tend to try to pick films that we know we're not going to have too many copyright battles with. But other than that, we are still, and always have been, and will remain so, very Patreon focused in terms of the reviews that we do. So you'll usually find a nemesis or a below sneak in sometimes when we know that these films the studios don't give a flying anything about, so we can just get them past copyright very quickly.
True.
But yeah, thanks for the question, Nick.
Nice.
And next question is from Josh Del Monte.
What up, Josh?
Okay, I will ask one question. Which films or shows, either TV or streaming, are you looking forward to? Me personally, I'm still 50-50 with films, TV shows, and streaming ones too. Since you may be mentioning top 10 films of 2024 in your podcast, my top 10 films for 2024 were Dune Part 2, Civil War, Furiosa, Monkey Man, Conclave, and The Apprentice, Wicked Part 1, Blitz, The Fall Guy, Megalopolis. It's just my subjective list, but I found all okay. I'm just listing them from my technical standpoint.
Nice.
As for the worst of last year, I'll just do the top 5 to finish off. Atlas, I thought was bad. Roadhouse, the remake. Gladiator 2. And Alien Romulus. I found watchable, he said.
Don't get me fucking started on Roadhouse.
Don't get me started on Gladiator 2.
Yeah.
But he's just listing them in no specific order.
Hey,
but my response films that I'm looking forward to in 2025 this year, Superman. New Superman. Megan 2.0.
Megan wasn't bad.
It wasn't. I enjoyed it.
So it was a watchable, bit fun. Yeah.
I'm happy for a second one. 28 years later.
Of course.
The Electric State. Constantine 2. Predator Badlands.
And the other one.
And the animated one that's coming that doesn't have a title yet. Mad Max, The Wasteland.
Definitely.
Tom Hardy's back as
Tom
Max.
Hardy's back, I'm up for that. Yeah.
Final Destination 6, The Bloodlines. Heat 2.
Yeah.
Frankenstein. That's the Guillermo del Toro adaptation.
Finally.
Yeah, finally. The Monkey. And
That does look fun.
Return to Silent Hill. So, yeah, there's a few horror films there. A lot of horror films there.
Do you know what I'm really looking forward to, and it's out next week, is it Presence, the Steven Soderbergh one, where it's a haunted house told from the perspective of the ghost.
What?
Have you not seen the trailer?
I've never even heard of this.
You must have seen the trailer when you went to see Nosferatu, because I've seen it on Nosferatu
No,
and Wolfman.
I got, like I said, when I got in, the lights were off, and it was the end of
a fucking massive hot dog.
I can't see shit. I'm like, no,
Yeah,
when I
it's,
got in, it was the trailer was finishing for the new Mark Wahlberg.
that I'm looking forward to.
Film.
It's a Mel Gibson movie, a Flight Risk.
Yes,
where it's him on the plane and stuff like. I get it. Yeah. Do you know what? I've seen that trailer twice and I was like, oh, that looks quite good. Because again, 3 people on
a plane.
Fucking
Can't go
area,
nowhere.
That's it. There's one called Novocaine that looks quite good, which is the guy who plays it Huey from The Boys. You know, the main guy.
Oh yeah.
And
Quaid's son.
Yes.
Yeah.
He can't
Randy.
feel pain. And his girlfriend gets kidnapped, so it's him sort of fighting his way through this gang.
Okay.
Being shit at fighting, but you can't hurt him, he doesn't feel any pain. And it's some really good intro. Like there's a fight in the trailer, there's a fight in a kitchen, and like guy's got a gun and he knocks it and it falls in the deep fat fryer. And the guy's about to get up and he's just looking at it like and he just grabs it because he's not gonna feel it, but it still damages it.
Right.
Yeah, that one will look quite cool. And there's Michael B. Jordan's in this horror movie that I think it's like a vampire movie, but it's set around this like slavery aspects to it and stuff like that.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it. I've only seen the trailer. Again, saw the trailer when I went to see Nosferatu. Looking forward to that. Plus,
Nice.
yeah, you've pretty much captured, I think, the list there, to be fair, of what's coming out.
Nice. Alrighty, next question is from Stephen Sloan.
What up, Stephen?
Hey guys, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Let's talk about actors having one or two great performances in their career and very mediocre for all their other films. First actor, Christopher Lambert. Excellent in Greystoke and the first Highlander and poor in pretty much everything else.
Hey, listen, are you not going to acknowledge the genius that is Fortress?
I love Fortress. That's great. Fortress 2, maybe not. But, I mean, no one's mentioning Mortal Kombat 2 here in his iconic... right? No, that was the first one. Because he got replaced by Remar in the second one. You're very right. Now, back
like
to...
your haircut, really?
Back to Stephen Sloan, and now this is where I do disagree. His second is Rutger Hauer. Excellent in Blade Runner and Hitcher, and poor in pretty much everything else.
Shotgun? Batman Begins?
Right?
It's fucking awesome.
He is
Blind
also
Fury,
he is
sir!
awesome
Blind Fury!
Exactly. You're already saying everything I'm feeling, which is why I completely disagree with you on this one, Stephen Sloan. But maybe it's because we just love Rutger Hauer, but I think he was excellent in everything. I think the films around him may not have been up to his level.
There is that.
But Stephen Sloan wants to know how we can explain that. Was it good scripts and good direction that got those amazing performances, or was it just a stroke of luck? There's actors out there that are pretty much good in all their roles, but Lambert and Rutger always frustrated me as I loved those 4 films. Can you think of an actor that was a one-hit or two-hit wonder? Hope you enjoyed my question. So I've already got a short list of answers. The first one that came to mind was Ralph Macchio. Literally just Karate Kid. And then, 30 years later, back to do more Karate Kid.
My cousin Vinny.
Right.
That's all I can think. That's all I got.
Edward Furlong. Yeah, he is okay in Terminator 2, but American History X, amazing. And then you get something like Crow Salvation, and you're like... But I mean, everyone in that was shit. So, Steven Seagal. I mean,
what was his good movie?
Under Siege.
I'm gonna have to let you have that. Yeah. Now you know what? It worries me that might come up in the next podcast.
Right? Yeah, it's gonna be in what was it? 90s? 90s? Yeah. Another one I've got is William Shatner. Now, William Shatner is Kirk. But if you see William Shatner in another film,
or a spoken word album,
or a spoken word,
run.
Now I take it back. There is another instance that I'd really like William Shatner, and that was Third Rock from the Sun. He was great in that. But almost everything else, I love you, Shatner, but yeah, not so good. And then I'll also just basically on recent podcasts, Casper Van Dien and Denise Richards. They're both great in Starship Troopers, but
that's it.
That's it. They were made for that film.
I'll say Max Schreck in the original Nosferatu. I don't know what damn other thing he was in.
Yeah, another one-hit wonder.
Linda Blair as well. That's true. The Exorcist. I will give her Repossessed. She was fucking bossing Repossessed. She was dog shit. I always think of that joke that they tell in Only Fools and Horses with Trigger, their dopey mate, where they're talking. They're literally discussing this very subject, and he's like, Gandhi. He's like, Gandhi. He's like, yeah, he made one great film, and then you never saw him
again. Great question, Stephen. Thank you. Harvard Ryan has a question.
Hello, sir.
Hey, guys. Happy New Year. Give us a pitch for a brand new horror movie you would love to see made.
Oh, so I'm friends with this giant, right? But he sometimes eats people. But he looks amazing in a monocle and a waistcoat.
And he can play any musical instrument? Genius.
No, I just set him on people.
Man, I'm...
new horror movie, that's tough, man.
It is tough.
What? I mean, not that I can give you, this is what happens. I'd love to see a genuinely good horror movie set. You remember I said, I love religious horror movies? I'd love to see one set in the Rapture. So the Rapture's happened, and it's the people left behind. You don't even need to show the Rapture. This is
the end.
And it's the same way that you do, it's a Wasteland movie.
Yeah.
It's Book of Eli, it's Mad Max, something like that. Set in the Rapture, your fucking bad guys are obviously the people, and demons, you know?
Yeah.
That, or I'd like to see, again, a post-apocalyptic movie where the antagonist is something supernatural. It's always, whenever you get it, it's just humans are terrible or there's zombies. That's about it. You know, it's really mostly. I know we had like that, like Love, Death and Monsters. I don't know what it was called. The one with the monsters in it, the big bugs and stuff. But
Yeah.
one where it's like a supernatural element in a post-apocalyptic world. But mostly, I'd be like, fucking do the rapture.
Yeah. My pitch for a brand new horror movie that I would love to see made is a zombie apocalypse movie, the early days of the apocalypse. Every zombie medium TV show, it kind of skips where you need the money. You need the budget to show the early days of the apocalypse when society is going on as normal and there's the odd news broadcast of something weird going on, some cannibalism. Some people were, the victims were apparently eaten, and scientists, like, there's a new virus sweeping across the land. Reports of bodies disappearing out of morgues and graveyards. Like, build it, and then have the outbreak happen. Follow, like Roland Emmerich style disaster movie where you follow pockets of people whose paths may or may not crisscross. Whether some group might end up accidentally killing another group because of fighting over resources, gasoline, fuel, food.
They kind of did that. Oh, it wasn't great. They kind of did that with that Civil War movie this year.
Yes, they did.
It was similar to that because that told multiple stories in it, and that was like early days.
Yes, so, and that's what I like.
But again, you insert
the zombie stuff with that framework. Yeah. Now, of course, one of the best examples is the Dawn of the Dead remake. That intro sequence with the sprinting zombies, of course, but that captured that snippet of the outbreak in that suburban area. Yeah, so creepy. But I would really, really love to see that done well. And obviously, for me, Fear the Walking Dead was the promise of showing it, but they did a fast forward on that too. So yeah, that's what I would personally like to see. Obviously, I still want my Resident Evil adaptation done right. But still.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for the question, Havard.
Tough question.
Alrighty. Next question is... Sorry, I'm just scrolling back.
Technical stuff.
There we go. Our next question is from Rio Quinn.
What up, Dave?
Genuinely devastated by the news of David Lynch's passing. Me too, man. Eraserhead was the first DVD I bought when I turned my back on VHS. What's your favorite Lynch production?
So I'm not to upset anyone. I'm not I'm not actually say the biggest David Lynch fan when it comes to things like. I'm not a big fan of Eraserhead.
Yeah.
Listen, I kind of feel like this is okay to say because he's not for everyone. He absolutely the best compliment anyone can give anyone. I've said it in the industry is he fucking made exactly what he wanted to make. He did anything. Yeah. That being and again, I didn't really watch Twin Peaks or anything like that.
Okay.
The Elephant Man is a fucking masterpiece, and I love it. It's an incredible film filled with heartbreakingly wonderful performances. Do you know what I mean? Early sort of like Anthony Hopkins role. Obviously,
John Hurt.
John Hurt. Thank you. I was struggling then playing the Elephant Man. So for me, it's an easy answer because like Lynch for me is someone that I was like, yeah, it's like. When people say people hit and miss, for me, a lot of it missed. But at the same time, utterly deserving of all the praise that he gets for what he's put out there. Because it took balls of steel to put a lot of it out there. I sort of like, I always went back and forth with Blue Velvet. It was a film that I watched that I kind of appreciated, but was kind of like, do I like this? Do I not? Am I supposed to? I don't know. But again, performance, I always feel he pulled amazing performances out of people.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like Inland Empire had what's she called?
Laura Dern.
Laura Dern. Laura Dern's best performance I've ever seen. Like she was an absolute fantastic actress in that. And again, just then watching like stories of Laura Dern first meeting David Lynch and how she had these reservations, and then she realized that he was a bit odd and a bit weird.
Was that?
And then
was Inland Empire?
Early 2000s, I think.
Yeah, it was one of the. I think
2006, I want to say.
Maybe I'd seen her in Congo before that.
Right. My first introduction to Lynch was The Elephant Man. That was a disturbing film as a young kid. When I saw that, I was like, "What's wrong with your face?" And then realizing like these deformities and growths and stuff, and being just hooked on this very human like story. I remember my first time with a razor head. Oh boy, that was nightmare fuel. I did not. I thought I was like being possessed while watching that film. Like I'd never seen anything like it.
100%.
It was I'll admit. Fast forward for me. I couldn't watch it in one sitting. I was stressed, very stressed watching that. I watched it by myself, like in an empty room, just watching it, and I couldn't take it anymore. I don't know whether I was sick of it, frustrated with it.
I got angry.
You got
angry
with it,
like,
right?
what the fuck am I doing? I had the most bizarre viewing experience.
It was your DVD I borrowed. It was your DVD I borrowed.
You don't know how weird that was for me as a watch.
Go on.
It was also one of the first DVDs I have had, and I didn't own a DVD player to watch it. Do you know where I watched it? My boss, when I worked at Games Workshop, was one of the probably the first person I know that bought a PS2.
Right.
And he brought it into the shop. And obviously that was the easiest way to get a DVD player. Because DVD players were mega expensive
just as pricey as a console, yeah.
So we had that set up to a fucking fatback TV. And so we watched DVDs, and we sat in Games Work. Fuck, I don't work anymore. I can't get fired. We were shit-faced drunk. We had some drinks, and we were sat in the shop with it closed, and we watched Eraserhead. And I remember finishing it, going like, just being actually like angry at like, what did I just say?
Yeah. So I've never returned to it.
I lent you the DVD. I think I was like, take this fucking thing.
No, throw it back. I was like, nah, never again.
It's like when Mum and Dad came out, I got it on TV, watched it. I gave it to someone in work at Rollback. So he's like, "When do you want it back?" I was like, "I don't ever want to see that fucking video again." Like, take it away.
Yeah, but I think I like Lynch's Dune. It's the cast that they assembled for that film, brilliant.
Sting.
Yeah. But I think in my heart of hearts, it's going to be Twin Peaks. Like I hear the music. Like it just brings back so many warm, fuzzy, happy, like emotions. The wonderful, eccentric characters. Just the oddball scenes. They're just so vague and not well connected, but
also a big cultural event as well. We talk about TV series that sort of like
change the landscape.
Yeah, and kind of become a huge thing at the time. I mean, like I think we talked like Stranger Things season 4 was like a big thing that summer, wasn't it?
It was,
that kind of thing. But you're talking about before the internet.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So yeah, like I think I think that will probably I think it'll probably be his most well remembered piece of work.
I would have thought so.
Is Twin
Especially
Peaks.
because he came back for the series much later.
Yes, because he walked away from it during the second season when the studio were like they didn't understand it and they just wanted to continue it like a modern normal TV show.
Yeah.
But yeah, great question. Now, thank you, David. Next question is from Richie Cornbread.
What up, Richie?
Awesome first podcast of 2025, guys. I can't think of a question this month, so I'll just say thank you for an enjoyable Saturday evening.
You're welcome, man.
Cheers, my dude.
Well, as well, Richie's on the Discord. I'm normally hanging out around the gym section as well, and he's absolutely smashed a sort of recent gym program of like over 60 days, I think.
That's right, yeah.
Over the festive period, I might add, which is like balls of steel. So well done, man. Yeah, he's done really well. Good on you.
Alrighty, and our last question of the podcast. What is your favorite TV or movie adaptation of a video game? And as a flip side to that, why do you think so many game to TV movie adaptations are terrible? Looking at you, Resident Evil. Was that the Netflix one? Sorry, this was a question from a Code Dude as well.
Well, Code Dude. I think that most of the time, because they take to answer the last part, they just throw it out the window and don't fucking.
I think. I mean, based on last year alone, my favorite adaptation of a video game so far is Fallout, the Fallout TV show.
I can't think of one that stuck to the universe any better.
Last of Us did pretty good. And I haven't played the game, but I've watched a playthrough of The
I can
Last
only
of Us.
say, I mean, with the exception of the casting,
Yeah.
whether you like to or not, you can't deny that it's like, wow, they really fucking went elsewhere. Yeah. I mean, but although it was very good, don't get me wrong. The amount of the world that they got right far outweighed anything else.
It was the first, after watching that was the first time I went, they've done it right. They've got it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Fallout's definitely up there. Oh, shout out them Sonic movies.
Yeah.
Because after the internet was like, fix it,
They did.
They got rid of that fucking what it could have been. Oh my god! And we got some really fun Disney beating hedgehogs out of that, didn't we? So big fan. Even that Mario movie was fun. And as soon as they were like, again, it's one that I watched with a kid.
Yeah.
Considering it was what's it? Oh, we're gonna cast Chris
Pratt as everything.
Mario, and I was like, what? Are you out of your fucking mind? But then it's like, you know what? That's fine. And wow, it really does look like Mario brought to life. When he goes in there, and as Jack Black is so hit and miss with his acting roles, but just a voice performances.
Who did he play?
He played Cooper.
Okay,
Bowser. Sorry. Yeah, he was great. Fucking Peach's song, it was all good. So that was good. But again, they treated it like a bit of fun. Yeah, and it worked for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd like to see but what goes wrong?
I think
they don't want to make an adaptation. They just want to make something using these characters.
Yes. I mean, I'm just going to use like The Witcher as an example from the snippets that we've heard from behind the scenes, is that the writers got the rights, obviously, to do The Witcher, but they're not fans of The Witcher. So they decided to just write whatever they wanted, whatever ideas or beliefs that the writers have of their own going into that property, ignoring the source material. Yeah. That's a huge problem. Paul W.S. Anderson for the Resident Evil movie said he was a huge fan of the games, but he didn't want to regurgitate the games. This is in the documentary that we just watched.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, right. He was just like, why do a movie where you know that Barry's going to save Jill from the falling ceiling? Why do a movie where everybody already knows that Wesker's going to betray them at the end? Why do those movies?
Because that's the fucking game we like, you piece of shit.
Yes. So I'll just do adjacent to it because, okay, so, but yeah,
I played the game and I was like, there's no part for my wife in this.
Right? She can't play Jill. But I do think it's a case of the writers just not appreciating the source material and thinking, oh, I'm better than the original writers that wrote that. I can insert whatever I want and do what I want with this property now.
That first Silent Hill movie was good.
Yeah.
I like that one. It was all right.
In a vacuum, I agree with you. When I bring in the lore of the games, I go, that movie is a fucking... It confused general audiences as to the lore of Silent Hill.
I think if you play those first two games as a casual playthrough without investigating into all the different... I was like, do you know what? Yeah, they brought it to life.
Yes, they did.
Storyline's not good, obviously, as a get, but they certainly brought it to life and treated it with respect. And that's most of the time. That is so...
Which is why the sequel...
much of the way there.
It's on my... I'm excited for it this year because it's the same director.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If you treat it with respect,
hopefully they do.
Pretty well.
Although I am going to be pretty tired of seeing the Silent Hill 2 storyline now in film form.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, I mean, I already know that James has already killed his wife before it started. Sorry if you've never played Silent Hill. Well, it's a 20-year-old game, so it's too late. Great question, though, Code Dude. Thank you. Well, I thought we were finished, but we're never really finished until we hear from Ian.
It's fucking sick.
Ian says, hey, guys, here's my question. What do you call a woman who goes... ding-a-ling-a-ling? Isabel.
So I just want everyone to know that these are the kind of texts that I get off of him during the week, and somehow I'm still friends with him.
Yeah.
And I know full well that he said that, wrote it, and laughed at it.
Yeah, I'm still laughing now.
Oh my god. So funny.
Well, clearly somebody's feeling better.
Also, not a question. You fucking answered it.
Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this podcast. Andy, it's been an absolute pleasure,
Awesome,
as
mate.
always.
It's been great.
Thank you, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you next month, where we may or may not be doing an 80s versus 90s action horror movie.
How busy we get.
Or we're going to slum it and do a podcast on
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell, right? Thanks, everyone. See you on the next one.
Love you, faces.
Nice. Let's get this saved up lickety split.
Donna went round to her mates last night. She's doing her tax for her, and her and the kid, they've like, well, the kid hasn't been drinking wine, obviously, but the mate have been drinking wine. They've ordered pizza. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna pick up a drunk wife and a hyper kid.
Well, you're just gonna be like, I'm exhausted. I've been talking for 3-4 hours straight.
Get pizza. There won't spoilers. There won't be. And now I've got to go and get an early night as well because I've got to be up playing fucking American football in like 10 hours.
On a Sunday?
I've got to find my gumshoe.
Maybe because I'm not English, but I'm still laughing at the joke. Nice one, Euro. Someone who has a job writing Christmas cracker jokes is going to find you and punch you in the face, Ian. They want their jokes back.
Yeah. Like, hey!
Oh,
you
dear.
have to submit that.
What do you call a woman with a frog on her head?
Lily.
Yep. These are fucking cracker jokes, aren't they?
Yeah.
All right.
His girlfriend called Eileen. Ringo gets it.
Alrighty, guys. I am going to play our exit music when I can find it. And we did normally like to go out on a raid, but it's getting late. I'm going to get Andy out the door, and then I need to get to work on getting this podcast downloaded and edited and rendered and all that other stuff. So it's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you for having so many of you in the live chat, as always.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for the hype train earlier, for the gift subs and the bits. It means a lot. So thank you. Hope you had a good evening, and I'll be back live on Monday afternoon, where I'm going to be thinging with John Carpenter's The Thing remaster, and we're going to be attempting those ramps, and we're going to...
Was it out for you last year?
It was,
yeah,
but
you know how to switch, right?
the first day I started playing...
Suck it!
Yeah, it was the day I installed it was the day my PC died that night.
So you didn't really
I only now got to play it for the first time this week, just gone Monday and Wednesday. So yeah, I'll be finishing it this coming Monday. I guarantee it. Or that, or I rage quit one more time, and Ian comes around and finishes the last level for me again.
History repeats.
It will. Alrighty, everyone. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of your weekend. Go and watch The Substance, or
Do it.
Deadpool versus Wolverine, or The Penguin, or Strange Darling, or any of the other ones we mentioned today.
What's The Substance?
Definitely The Substance. Take it easy, everyone. See you on the next one.
That's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? Where's the real pretty shit now, man?
You finished?
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Get to the chopper!